1000 Ways to Make Money. Chapter 1. How to Get a Place. You can get it. Positions yawning for young men. Any young man may become rich. Men who began at the bottom and reached the top. How A.T. Stewart got his start. John Jacob Astor's Secret of Success. How Stephen Gerrard's Draymond made a fortune. $100,000 for being polite. How one man's error made another man's fortune. Secret of the Bon Marché in Paris. How Edison succeeded. A sure way to rise. How a young man got his salary increased. $2,000. A sharp Yankee peddler. Young men are often discouraged because the desirable places all seem to be filled. But remember, there is always room for the right man. Says a New York millionaire, I hold that any young man, possessing a good constitution and a fair degree of intelligence, may become rich. Says another businessman, I have made a personal canvass of a dozen of the largest business houses in 5 different commercial and professional lines to see to what extent there exist openings for young men. In only 2 of the houses approached were the heads of the firms satisfied the positions of trust in those houses were filled by capable men. And in each of these 2 houses I was told that, of course, if the right sort of a young man came along who could tell us something about our business we did not already know, we should not let him slip through our fingers. Positions can always be created. In 4 of the houses, positions had been opened for 6 months or more, and the sharpest kind of a lookout kept for possible occupants. These positions commanded salaries all the way from $2,000 to $5,000 a year. In the publishing business, I know of no less than 6 positions actually yawning for the men to come and fill them, not clerical positions, but positions of executive authority. Young men are desired in these places because of their progressive ideas and capacity to endure work. Another prominent man who interviewed the heads of several large firms writes in a recent periodical as follows. It is not with these firms a question of salary, it is a question of securing the highest skill with the most perfect reliability. This being secured, almost any salary to be named will be cheerfully paid. A characteristic of the business world today is that its institutions, empires in themselves, have grown to be too large for the handling of ordinary men. These institutions are multiplying in excess of the number of men whose business skill is broad and large enough to direct and command them. Hence, the really commanding business brain is at an immense premium in the market. A salary of $50,000 a year as president of a railroad or manufacturing company at first sight seems exorbitant, but the payment of such a salary usually means pure business. The right or the wrong man at the head of a great business interest means the making or the unmaking of fortunes for the stockholders. Only a single glance at the industrial world is needed to show that here is room for the advent of genius of the first order. This world, seething like a cauldron, is boiling to the brim with questions of the most vexing and menacing kind. Look at the men who reached the top of fortune's ladder, and see under what discouraging circumstances they began. James Fisk, called the Prince of the Erie, rose to that position from a ragged newsboy. Stephen Gerrard began on nothing, and became the greatest millionaire of his time. Young men, would you scorn to row a boat for a living? Cornelius Vanderbilt plied a boat between Staten Island and New York. Would you tramp the country as a surveyor for a map? Jay Gould began in that way, and 40 years later satisfied certain doubters of his financial standing by showing them certificates of stocks worth $80 million. Do you fear to have your hands calloused with axe or saw? John W. McKay, who acquired a fortune of $20 million, started in life as a shipwright. Is it beneath your social station to handle butter and eggs? Lucky Baldwin, the multimillionaire, kept a country store and made his first venture by taking his goods overland in a cart to Salt Lake City. Are your fingers too delicate for the broom handle? A.T. Stewart began his business career by sweeping out the store. Do you abhor vile odors? Peter Cooper made $6 million in the glue business. Tens of thousands are looking for a place. Most of them have had places, but could not keep them. If you follow all the rules below, having obtained a place, you will never need to seek one again. The place will seek you. Employers are in search of the qualities herein to be considered, and they are willing to pay liberally for them. They are qualities that come high everywhere. If you possess them, you can in a short time command your own price. But do not scorn to take the humblest place. Merit, like murder, will out. Be sure you have the winning cards and wait. 1. The secret of work. Men will employ you if you mean business. When you find men working, work with them. Lend a hand. Every employer would rather employ a busy man than an idle man. When he sees you working, he will watch you. If he likes you, he will make you an offer. A glazier, being refused work at a place where a church was being erected, put down his kit of tools, picked up the broken pieces of glass which the workman had thrown away, and, laboring just as if he had been hired to work, fashioned the finest church window in the world, and became rich and famous. 2. Nature's furrow. Plow in nature's furrow. In general, a man is fitted for the thing he likes. Do that which you can do best. What you want to do you are called to do, and what you are called to do you can do. Darwin says that the fittest survive because they have a slight advantage over those which do not survive. Your liking for an occupation is the advantage you have over those who do not like it. Follow the hint, whether it be to publish a paper or peg shoes. A leading merchant in New York found his calling through having loaned money to a friend. He had to take his friend's store to secure his money, and thus learned his gift for merchandise. The man was A.T. Stewart. 3. General details. The best general is general details. In business life, no matter is small enough to be despised. To master an infinite number of small things is to prepare yourself to master great things. When your employers see that you have everything at your fingers' ends, they will entrust you with larger interests, and greater responsibility means greater pay. John Jacob Astor knew the minutest point about every part of his great business. That was the secret of his success. 4. The prismatic brain. Be many-sided, but transparent. Tell your employer where you have failed. Do not try to cover up a fault. Be absolutely honest. You may get along for a time on shady lines, but such success is only gained at the expense of ultimate loss. It is absolutely essential that your employer should have the utmost confidence in your integrity. Try by every means to gain that confidence. Court examination. Invite inspection. Remember that his profound belief in you when out of business hours as well as in, is your surest stepping stone to promotion. Character is power. Your success depends as much upon what you are as upon what you know or do. Stephen Girard once trusted his drayman to buy a shipload of tea worth $200,000. He trusted him because he knew his man, and he gave the young man the profits of the transaction, which amounted to $50,000. 5. The bridled tongue. Do not cross your employer in any way. Never dispute with him. You may be sure that you are right, but do not say so. You need not be a Democrat or an Episcopalian because your employer is, but if you are wise you will avoid discussing with him questions of politics or religion. Courtesy pays. Ross Winans, of Philadelphia, secured a business that netted him $100,000 a year simply through his politeness to two Russian agents, to whom others in the same trade had accorded scant courtesy. 6. Studying the stair above. Study, not stars, but stairs. Learn all about the position next above you. When you can point out new methods to your employer, advance new ideas, or suggest new channels of trade or lines of work, you are surely on the way to promotion. Only, be sure that your new ideas are practical. There is no more direct road to the confidence of your employer than for him to see that you understand any part of his affairs better than he does himself. Employ your spare moments in studying the business. While the other clerks are joking, do you be learning? While the students at the boarding house in Andover were chaffing each other during the wait for breakfast, Joseph Cook would turn to a big dictionary in one corner of the room and look out a word. He climbed many stairs above them. 7. The missing factor. Your employers are wrestling with a question. They are uncertain whether to invest or not. They are doubtful about the character or standing of some man with whom they are or may become heavily involved. It will be worth thousands to you if you can procure any scrap of information that will help to set them right. A young clerk who discovered an error in Bradstreet's was soon admitted to partnership in his employer's firm. 8. The magnifying glass. Make the most of your present position. Wear magnifying glasses. Exalt the importance of every item. Let not the smallest thing be done in a slipshod way. If you are answering letters for the firm, answer them briefly but completely. Remember that brevity is not brusqueness. If you are waiting on customers, treat the small customer just as courteously as the large one. You may be sure that your employer knows the market value of politeness. In the Bon Marché in Paris, the employers determined that something must be done more than was done in other stores so that every visitor would remember the place with pleasure and come again. The result was the most exquisite politeness ever seen in a mercantile establishment, and it has developed the largest business of its kind in the world. 9. The microscopic eye. The microscope shows 100 things the naked eye cannot see. Endeavor to see what others fail to see: new possibilities of sales, new means of profit, new methods of doing things. It was by steadily looking at a thing until he saw what was not apparent to the superficial view that Thomas Edison became the greatest electrician of the world. 10. Scoring a point when off duty. Do something for your employer when you are out of the shop or store. You may be sure that he will appreciate it. It is a fallacy that he has no claim on you when off duty. Do not give him the idea that you have no interest in the business except to get your salary, and no time to spare him except what you are paid for. Do not watch the clock, do not filch a few moments at the beginning or end of the day's work, and do not ask leave of absence except when absolutely necessary. Do overwork and unpaid for work, and when you see a point in favor of your firm, fasten to it. Become essential to the place, and you will rise in the place. "I can't spare you," said the publisher of a New York magazine to his advertising agent when another publisher offered him an increase of $1,000. "Let's see, you are getting $5,000 now, I'll make it $7,000. 11. The study of men. This is the very key to success. The proper study of mankind is man. The greatest college on earth is the business world. The man who can sell the most goods is the one who knows the weaknesses of human nature, and how to avail himself of them. Your best diploma is a big bill of sale. Sell something to everybody, what the customer wants if you have it, if not, what he doesn't want, but at any rate, sell him something. It is related of a Yankee book peddler that he sold 3 copies of the same book to a family in one day, to the husband in the store, to the wife who was calling at a neighbor's, and to the daughter at home. And not one of the family wanted the book. Following the above lines, and adding thereto good health and steady habits, you cannot fail to be promoted and to rise to the highest position of responsibility, if not even to actual partnership in the firm. These are the qualities that proprietors are yearning for, nay, actually groaning for, but which are hard to find in the average man. Employers are keeping the sharpest kind of a watch for the right man. It is stated on the best of authority that there are 1,000 business firms in New York and vicinity, each having one or more $5,000 positions awaiting the men who can fill them. If you have the right qualities or will acquire them, at least 1,000 great firms want your services, and posts of responsibility with almost unlimited salary await your hand or brain. Chapter 2. Starting in Business. Why men fail. Luck on the side of pluck, marking the day's profits, before they begin. No diamond like the eye, the man who takes his bank to bed with him, the 2 hands of fortune. Many men fail because they undertake a business without considering whether there is room for it, others because they do not thoroughly establish themselves in the place, making no effort to get a constituency, and yet others because they do not keep the goods that are in demand, or do not renew the stock sufficiently quick, or do not present their goods in an attractive way. Such causes of success or failure as are in the line of this work will now be considered. Here are the rules of an old merchant which he would take for his guidance were he to start anew in business. 12. The minimum basis. Enumerate the entire number of heads of families in the town, village, ward, or neighborhood where you purpose to begin business. Figure out the number of such persons you will require as a minimum basis in order to get on, that is, how many persons or families, spending each on an average a certain amount per day or week at your place of business, you will require in order to make a living. Do not go blindly into your work, trusting to luck. Luck is always on the side of pluck and tact. Determine what percent of the people's patronage is absolutely essential to your success. The first step is to ascertain if such percent is likely to come to you. 13. The house-to-house canvas. Make a personal canvas from house to house. Do not trust the work to your friend, relative, or clerk. Nobody can help you so much as you can help yourself. Nobody has your interests so much at heart as you have. Tell people pleasantly that you are a new bidder for their patronage. Inform them what you propose to do. Make them to understand that no man shall undersell you, or give them in any way a better bargain. If possible, take a few samples of your choicest goods with you. 14. The choice location. If you become popular, the people will come to you, but at first you must go to them. Your place need not be central or on a corner, but it must be where many people pass. Step out largely and conspicuously. You could make no greater mistake than to rent a shabby place on a back street. Have out all manner of signs, curious, newsy, and alluring. Do not think to sustain yourself by people's sympathies. Men will trade most where they can do best. 15. The maximum basis. The maximum basis is the high water mark. It is the number of persons or families that under the most favorable state of things can be your patrons. All you cannot expect. Kindred, religion, politics, friendships, and secret fraternities will hold a portion of the community to the old traders. The sharpest rivalry will meet you. Also, you must consider what incursions are likely to be made by out-of-town dealers, and what prospect there is of others setting up business in the place. But you should have an ideal trade toward which you steadily work. Declare daily to yourself, my gross earnings shall be $1 per day, or, so many persons shall be my patrons. When you fall below the mark, bestir yourself in many ways. 16. The personal equation. Remember that you yourself in contact with your customers count for more than anything else. The weather of the face, the temperature of the hand, the color of the voice, will win customers where other means fail. Make your patrons feel that you are their friend. Inquire about members of their family. Be exceedingly polite. Recommend your goods. Mention anything of an especially attractive or meritorious nature you may have. Join the church, the regiment, the fire company, and the secret society. Become all things to all men, if by any means you can sell to some. Be everywhere in your place of business. Oversee the smallest details. Trust as little as possible to your clerks. The diamond of success is the master's eye. Remember, there is no fate. There are opportunity, purpose, grit, push, pluck, but no fate. If you fail, do not lay the blame upon circumstances, but upon yourself. Enthusiasm moves stones. You must carry your business in your brain. A bank never gets to be very successful, says a noted financier, until it gets a president who takes it to bed with him. There was an angel in Michelangelo's Muddy Stone, and there is a fortune in your humdrum store. Hard work and close thought are the hands that carve it out. Chapter 3. Money in Trade. What kind of advertisements pay? Don't fail to see the Blizzard Saturday Night, the keynote of a $20 million sale, selling goods by the mile, watches for bait, how to get 5-year customers, trade with me and get a house and lot, why traded push and plucks, bargains and buttons often means high prices in broadcloth. Thousands fail in business every year when an idea put into practical operation would have tided them over the trouble and opened the road to a competence. This chapter will tell you how to succeed. No man with common ability and industry who puts the half or even the quarter of these ideas into practice can possibly fail. The great thing is to make people buy your goods. But to induce them to purchase, you must first of all call attention to what you have to sell. Here are a few of the ways in which this is to be done. The following methods will fairly compel the people to trade with you, but you must bear in mind that as soon as the influence of one device begins to flag, it must be immediately succeeded by another. 17. The interlined advertisement. Advertisements are not read unless persons are looking for something in that line. This is because they are all placed by themselves. Your bid for patronage must be put in the midst of the reading matter if it is to attract general attention. Many publishers will not do this, but your chief and only point in appearing in the paper is to have your advertisement read, and it pays better to insert it in a journal with 5,000 readers who will all see it than in one having 100,000 subscribers, hardly 100 of whom will glance at the advertisement. You can afford to pay handsomely if the publisher will give you a line of blackface typed to 8 or 10 lines of news. 18. The picturesque named. Have a name for your store such as will easily fit everybody's mouth. The Beehive, the Blizzard, the Buttercup, or the Bonanza are suggestive titles. Many customers are attracted by the talk of their acquaintances, and it is much easier to tell a friend that you bought an article at the Hub or the Sun than to attempt the unpronounceable name of a proprietor, or to give a forgotten number. Successful men in several lines of business assert that they owe much of their good fortune to the happy hit of a popular name. 19. The pictorial rec. A writer with the gift of a lively imagination can write something interesting in the way of a fanciful battle between customers and goods. Headlines: Great Slaughter in, the taking name of your store, wreck of old conservatism, smash of high prices, ruined by the rush. Then would follow a graphic description of the charge of customers upon wares in which the store was almost wrecked by the enormous number of people who took advantage of the undercost prices. People enjoy this kind of pleasantry, and the impulse to follow the crowd is almost irresistible. A certain New York house grew from a small to a great one by this method of advertising. 20. A red letter day. Have a day in which you offer special bargains to the people of a certain town, village, or hamlet. Put up flaming posters announcing Squashville Day, Jonesboro Day, Bloomington Day. 21. Class discount. You may draw numbers of men to your place by this means. Secret fraternities, workingmen's orders, church societies, wheelmen's leagues will be attracted to you if they know you specially favor them. Fortunes have been made by close attention to these great organizations. 22. The honest flaw. Strictly instruct your clerks to tell your customers the precise nature of every article. If the quality is inferior, make them to understand exactly what they are getting for their money, and if there be a flaw, let them be careful to point it out. By such means thousands of people who cannot trust their own judgment in these matters will be attracted to a place where they are certain to be treated fairly. T. Stewart, who began business in a modest store, and who, in the latter part of his life sold $20 million worth of goods every year, declared that this plan was the keynote of his success. 23. The premium clerk. You need clerks who can induce acquaintances to visit your store, cajole visitors into customers, and coax customers to become larger buyers. If you have a number of clerks and your business will admit of it, offer a monthly premium to the one who brings into the store the largest number of new buyers or into the cash drawer the heaviest receipts. There are certain kinds of business where this plan will work, and will be provocative of such competition as greatly to increase trade. 24. The railroad mileage. Arrange, if possible, with some railroad company to issue mileage tickets as premiums to those who will trade with you. At 2 cents a mile you could afford to give 2 miles of travel for every $1 worth of goods. At that rate $500 worth of goods would buy a $20 mileage ticket. 25. The dial dollars. How many figures on the dial of your watch? 28. Counting the number 6, which is generally either omitted or only partly indicated. Fix a big dial 2 feet or more in diameter in some prominent part of your store, and announce that when a customer has traded an amount equal to the total figures on the dial you will present him with a watch. Of course, the timepiece would be a very cheap one, but many a parent will trade with you for the sake of getting a watch for his child. 26. First customer package. In some periods of the day you will have more custom than you can well attend to, while at other times you will have nothing to do. The following plan will perhaps help to equalize trade, and also give you additional buyers. Suspend a package in some conspicuous part of your store with the announcement thereon that it will be given free to the first customer in the morning. 27. The carpet coupon. By a system of large-sized coupons, we will say a foot square, you can put into practice a unique system that will appeal to the heart of every housewife. Publish that you will give a free carpet of a certain size and grade when a fixed amount has been traded. A square foot of a coupon represents a sum of money spent in the store, perhaps $1. Every woman, by measuring her room, can learn how many dollars worth of goods she must buy before she can have a free carpet. 28. The house lot coupon. This is an extension of carpet coupon. A certain amount of purchased goods entitles one to a building lot, which, if in the country, need not be of great cost. Have the particular lots selected and advertised. Another plan is to offer the lot to the largest purchaser within a certain time, possibly 5 years. This is a good way to hold on to customers. 29. Price time grade. If you have the credit system, have also a gradation of prices so as to encourage people to pay at the earliest possible time. A system like this would do 40 days full price, 30 days, 2% off, 20 days, 3% off, 10 days, 4% off, cash, 5% off. 30. Sales bulletin. People like to buy where others buy. Success brings success. If you are doing well, you may do better. Have a large bulletin board in front of your store, or near it, announcing your sales for the past week. Newspapers boom themselves in like manner by publishing their enormous circulation. 31. Best reason prize. Offer a prize to the one who will give the best reason for trading at push and plucks, and then insert in the form of an advertisement in a leading paper a list of the best reasons. 6 months before Christmas, offer presents to all who will trade a certain amount before that holiday. 32. Birthday calendar. A calendar with the birthdays of your customers, age of course omitted, would attract attention, and the offer to give a present to anyone trading a certain amount before his birthday would certainly add to your receipts. 33. Conspicuous price list. Buyers are caught like fish. Display in your window a list of cut prices. Passers-by who cannot resist the opportunity of a bargain will come in, and often be induced to purchase the goods which are not reduced. 34. The early discount. In order to equalize the trade of the day, announce that you will give a slight discount to persons trading during the dull hours. 35. The money space counter. Determine that every portion of your store shall pay. Have every lineal foot of your counters calculated at a certain rate of profit. If you find a department that does not pay, change methods or your goods, and if still unsuccessful, drop it. Many large dealers fail because they keep departments where the expenses are more than the profits. But if every foot of room pays only a little, the entire store must pay handsomely. It will be seen in the foregoing how every leading impulse in human nature is appealed to: curiosity and cupidity, honesty and economy, personal flattery and local pride. If, in addition to these powerful inducements to patronage, you combine shrewdness in buying and cautiousness in trusting, if your goods are excellent in quality and generous in quantity, if your place of business is neat and attractive, and your service marked by promptness and politeness, then it is impossible to fail. You have all the elements of prosperity, and are certain to be a great and successful merchant. Chapter 4. Money in the introduction of a new article. Success of the imitation cigar. The dealer's seeds of gold are Black Barnum's belief in humbugs, tricks for trade, politics for the men, novels for the women, how the Remington typewriter was boomed, a businessman's experience in advertising. New articles in all lines of trade are constantly appearing. Inventors of mechanical appliances, authors of books, proprietors of patent medicines, introducers of something novel in groceries, and promoters of new departures in dry and fancy goods, are all anxious to have the public take their products and pay them in cash. The problem is how to introduce the article. However meritorious it may be, it is useless unless the people find it out. The following are believed to be unique methods of advertising. 36. The puzzle. By some patented puzzle which can be manufactured cheap and scattered broadcast over the land. There is no better way to advertise. If men do not solve the puzzle, they will remember what is stamped on it. The Get Off the Earth Chinese puzzle enormously advertised its purchasers. 37. The toy imitation. Wooden nutmegs and shoe pegoats have duly advertised the shrewd ways of the people of Connecticut. A man recently made a hit by the imitation cigar, which is only a piece of wood of the shape and color of a cigar. Every boy wants one. As an advertising medium, it was an immense success. Think of something as common and cheap as a cigar, get up an imitation for the children, have your enterprise stamped upon it, and it will go from one end of the land to the other. 38. The cartoon. A caricature of some political person or situation is always taking. Hit off some social craze, or give a witty representation of some matter of passing interest. Drops of ink in this way are seeds of gold, and the harvest will be golden. 39. The conjurer. This is a good way to advertise when the article is a cheap affair which can be shown in the street. There are few things so attractive to the masses as the tricks of the sleight of hand performer. Mr. P. T. Barnum uttered at least in half-truth when he said that people like to be humbugged. For a few dollars you can get an equipment, and in a few days' practice you can acquire enough of the art for your purpose. You can draw a crowd wherever there are people. When you have performed a few tricks, your climax should be a shrewd advertisement which can be worked into the last performance. 40. The striking figure. If your goods are on sale in some prominent store, this device is sure to draw attention. Make a figure of some animal or vegetable or other form, if your article will lend itself to such a work. The figure could be some prominent man, or represent an historic scene, or illustrate some popular movement. A dealer in confectionery had in his window a bicycle made all of candy. 41. The advertising story. Offer a prize to the one who will write the best story about the merits of your article. The latter must be brought deftly into the story, and the award should be based upon the merits of the literary production and the skill in the use of the advertisement. Every competitor should be required to buy a small number of the articles, and the story should be published. 42. The word builder. Another prize might be offered to the one who could compose the greatest number of words from the name of your article or invention. The name ought to include at least a dozen letters, and there should be a set of rules for building words. Every contestant must buy your invention from whose title he is to build words. 43. The popular pun. This is an expensive way of advertising, but an immensely paying one. You make a pun upon some fad of the day, a hit upon some general craze, a piercing of some passing bubble, a political quib. Something of this nature, printed several times in the issue of the daily papers, would make your venture known to everybody. 44. The political guesser. If your enterprise admits of the coupon system, offer a prize to the one who will guess the successful candidate at the next election, and come the nearest to the figures of his plurality. The contestant must purchase one of your articles, and in this way hundreds of thousands may be sold. Every presidential election is the occasion of the floating of many things by this scheme. 45. The geometrical group. Some wares, such as fancy soaps and canned goods, admit of a grouping which is very attractive to the eye. Pyramids, cones, circles, and towers always draw attention. Some mechanical device whereby motion is produced will be sure to draw a crowd to your show window. 46. The pictorial comparison. If you are sure of your ground, draw a diagram or other figure, comparing your staple with those of others in the market. In this way the Royal Baking Powder Company pushed to the front, comparing with heavy black lines its product with the outputs of other companies. 47. The open challenge. And if you are still further confident that you have the best thing of its kind, you may issue a challenge to your competitors. Make it apparent that you are anxious, even clamorous, for a trial of your product against others. By this means you will establish yourself in the confidence of the public. The Remington typewriter was boomed in this way. 48. The book gift. Try the religious field. Issue leaflets or tiny books with paper covers, costing not more than $2 or $3 a thousand, and offer them as gifts to Sunday schools or other children's organization. Most Sunday school superintendents would be glad to give away booklets of this kind if they could be obtained free of charge. The books should contain a bright story, a few pictures, and, of course, a taking presentation of your wares. 49. Sunday school supplies. In some cases, you might even be warranted in issuing the supplies of a Sunday school, at least for a portion of the year. The books in the last number might not in every case be read, but the picture papers, lesson leaves, and other helps are all looked over, even if not studied. You could in many cases present them, reserving large advertising space for yourself so as to net a good profit. The class of customers thus obtained would be the very best. Do not hope for large returns unless you are willing to spend money. Money is the manure that creates crops, the blood that makes fatness, the wind that fans fortune, the sap that runs into golden fruit. Money is the bread on the waters that returneth after many days. It seems like the sheerest folly to spend so much in advertising, but you cannot reap bountifully unless you sow bountifully. For every dollar spent in advertising, declares a successful merchant, I have reaped 5. Chapter 5. Money in the Home Store. How to make money at home, 100 ways to get gain in your own house, how to get 100% profit, make your own goods, cheaper to make than to buy, anybody can do it, a woman as well as a man, a chance for persons with small capital, 3 profits in one sale. How? On every article sold there is first of all the profit of the manufacturer, then of the wholesale dealer, and finally of the retailer. There is commonly a fourth, that of the freighter. If you keep a retail store, you must pay the man who makes the goods, the man who transports the goods, and the man who keeps the goods in large stock, and all this leaves you only a small margin of profit. In the following plan you avoid all these costs, pay only for the raw material, and make the 4 profits yourself. You may begin your sales in your own home. If you have a large room fronting the street and near it, a little alteration will make it a veritable store. An expenditure of $25 should give you a show window and some nice shelves. Have a workroom in connection with your store. If your sales at first are small, you can put in your spare time in the making of your goods, and afterward as your custom increases you can employ help. The following articles are easily made. Many of them are novel, but all are saleable if the store is properly managed. Section 1, Household Ornaments. A home may be rendered attractive by a few simple ornaments that are very cheap. Vines, grasses, etc., add touches of beauty to a home and cost very little. Few people know how to prepare these little curiosities, and many would esteem it too much trouble to get and arrange the material if they did know. But most of these persons would buy them if the materials were prepared, and the vines, etc., ready to grow. You must have models of each kind in full growth in order to excite their admiration, and then you must have others in the initial stage for sale. Take pains to show the models, and explain the method of treating the plants and vines. The following cost little, and can be sold for from 300 to 500% profit. Some of your patrons will prefer to buy the models outright, and others to grow them themselves. 50. Crystallized grasses. Put in water as much alum as can be dissolved. Pour into an earthen jar and boil slowly until evaporated nearly 1/2. Suspend the grasses in such a manner that their tops will be under the solution. Put the whole in a cool place where not the least draught of air will disturb the formation of crystals. In 24 to 36 hours take out the grasses, and let them harden in a cool room. For blue crystals, prepare blue vitriol or sulfate of copper in the same manner. Gold crystals can be produced by adding turmeric to the alum solution, and purple crystals by a few drops of extract of logwood. Sell them at 25 cents a bunch. 51. Leaf impressions. Hold oil paper in the smoke of a lamp, or of pitch, until it becomes coated with smoke. Then take a perfect leaf, having a pretty outline, and after warming it between the hands, lay the leaf upon the smoke side of the paper, with the underside down, press it evenly upon the paper so that every part may come in contact, go over it lightly with a rolling pin, then remove the leaf with care to a piece of white paper, and use the rolling pin again. You will then have a beautiful impression of the delicate veins and outline of the leaf. A sheet containing a dozen such leaves should bring you 25 cents, if arranged in a pretty white album, with a different kind of leaf for every page. The selling price should not be less than $1. 52. Vine and trellis. Put a sweet potato in a tumbler of water, or any similar glass vessel, let the lower end of the tuber be about 2 inches from the bottom of the vessel, keep on the mantel shelf, and sun it for an hour or 2 each day. Soon the eyes of the potato will throw up a pretty vine. Now with some small sticks or coarse splints construct a tiny trellis, which, if placed in the window, will soon find a customer. 53. The suspended acorn. Suspend an acorn by a piece of thread, within half an inch of the surface of some water contained in a vase, tumbler or saucer, and allow it to remain undisturbed for several weeks. It will soon burst open, and small roots will seek the water. A straight and tapering stem, with beautiful, glossy green leaves, will shoot upward, and present a very pleasing appearance. Supply water of the same warmth once a month, and add bits of charcoal to keep it from souring. If the leaves turn yellow, put a drop of ammonia into the water, and it will renew their luxuriance. 54. Moss and coned. Take a saucer and fill it with fresh green moss. Place in the center a large pine cone, having first wet it thoroughly. Then sprinkle it with grass seed. The moisture will close the cone partially, and in a day or two tiny grass spears will appear in the interstices, and in a week you will have a perfect cone covered with graceful verdure. The advantage of this, as well as of the other pretty things in this section, is that they are fresh and green in the midst of winter, and people are attracted to the slice of spring in your window when the outside world is mantled with snow. 55. The tumbler of peas. Take a common tumbler or fruit can and fill it nearly full of soft water. Tie a bit of coarse lace or cheese sacking over it, and covering it with a layer of peas, press down into the water. In a few days, the peas will sprout, the little thread-like roots going down through the lace into the water, while the vines can be trained upon a pretty little frame. 56. The hanging turnip. Take a large turnip and scrape out the inside, leaving a thick wall all around. Fill the cavity with earth, and plant in it some clinging vine or morning glory. Suspend the turnip with cords, and in a little time the vines will twine around the strings, and the turnip, sprouting from below, will put forth leaves and stems that will turn upward and gracefully curl around the base. 57. Bleach leaves. Mix 1 dram chloride of lime with 1 pint of water, and add sufficient acetic acid to liberate the chlorine. Steep the leaves about 10 minutes, or until they are whitened. Remove them on a piece of paper and wash them in clean water. They are now ready for sale, and all you need do is to arrange a dozen of them on a sheet of black paper, or in a dark-colored album, and expose them in your show window. 58. The artificial plant. Take the glossy silk stuff known as taffeta. Dye the piece the proper green color before cutting. After it is dried, prepare with gum arabic on one side to represent the glossy surface of the leaves, and with starch on the other to give the velvety appearance of the underside. Use a fine goffering tool to make the veins and indentations. Glue the leaves to the stem, and place to advantage in your store window, where, if you have been skillful, they can hardly be distinguished from the leaves of a growing plant. If you are moderately successful, procure a book about household ornaments and artificial plants, and you will learn to make many more designs. We have selected these because they are the cheapest and most easily made. All the above, except the albums, should sell for 25 cents. Remember that a great deal depends upon your taste in arranging, your manner of explaining, and your adroitness in recommending. You must be so in love with your plants as to be enthusiastic. In general, a lady succeeds in this work better than a gentleman. Section 2. Tea dishes. At almost no cost, you find yourself established in the midst of dozens of clinging vines and pretty plants. Now, for the next step. Have a few appetizing tea dishes in your window. Put out a sign, telling people that you will have every night certain fine and fresh table delicacies on sale. The effect of dainty dishes in close proximity to graceful vines is exceedingly tempting to the appetite. 59. Delicious ham. If very neat, you can sell to many families cold boiled ham for supper or lunch. Put the ham in cold water, and simmer gently 5 hours. Set the kettle aside, and when nearly cold draw off the skin of the ham and cover with cracker crumbs and about 3 tablespoonfuls of sugar. Place in the oven in a baking pan for 30 or 40 minutes. When cold, slice thin and lay temptingly on large white plates. Cost of a ham weighing 10 pounds, $1.20. Sales at 30 cents a pound, $3. Deduct for shrinkage in boiling and waste in trimming 1 1/2 pounds, 45 cents. Profits, $1.35. 60. Choice tongue. If successful with ham, you can try a little tongue. Soak overnight and cook for 4 or 5 hours. Throw into cold water and peel off the skin. Cut evenly and arrange attractively on plates, garnishing with sprigs of parsley. Cooked meats should be placed in the show window under transparent gauze. In hot weather, a cake of ice beneath will greatly tempt the appetite of the passerby. 61. Artificial honey. Where honey is high priced, make the following: 5 pounds white sugar, 2 pounds water, gradually bring to a boil, and skim well. When cool, add 1 pound bee's honey and 4 drops of peppermint. There is a large profit in this where the customer is not particular about the quality, but if a better article is desired, add less water and more real honey. You can add a number of other tea dishes as you learn what will sell. A thing that is saleable in one community is often not so in another. You must be guided by the taste of the locality, and when a dish does not sell well, try another. Section 3. Pastry. Suppose you now try a little pastry. If you can make a superior article, you will have a ready sale, but it is often difficult to introduce the goods. It is sometimes a good plan to donate a cake to a fair, cutting the loaf into very thin slices, and giving them to leading ladies who may be present, superintending the matter yourself, and advertising that you will take orders. 62. Angel cake. The whites of 11 eggs, 1½ cupfuls of granulated sugar, measured after being sifted 4 times, 1 cupful of flour measured after being sifted 4 times, 1 teaspoonful of cream tartar, and 1 of vanilla extract. Beat the whites to a stiff froth and beat the sugar into the eggs. Add the seasoning and flour, stirring quickly and lightly. Beat until ready to put the mixture into the oven. Use a pan that has little legs on the top comers so that when the pan is turned upside down on the table after the baking, a current of air will pass under and over it. Bake for 40 minutes in a moderate oven. Do not grease the pan. This cake should sell for $1, or, cut in 20 pieces, at 5 cents each. 63. Dominoes. If you are located near a schoolhouse or on a street where many children pass, you can do a big business in dominoes. Bake a sponge cake in a rather thin sheet. Cut into small oblong pieces the shape of a domino. Frost the top and sides. When the frosting is hard, draw the black lines and make the dots with a small brush that has been dipped in melted chocolate. They will sell like hot cakes. 64. Soft gingerbread. All children like this. Here is an excellent kind: 6 cupfuls of flour, 3 of molasses, 1 of cream, 1 of lard or butter, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoonful of saleratus, and 2 of ginger. You can sell this, when light and warm, almost as fast as you can make it. 65. Donuts. These, too, are tempting to children. 4 eggs, 1/2 pound sugar, 2 ounces butter, 1 pound flour, boiled milk, nutmeg, cinnamon, and a few drops of some essence. Beat the eggs and sugar and melt the butter and stir it in, then add a pound of flour and enough boiled milk to make a rather stiff dough, flavor with nutmeg, cinnamon, and a few drops of some essence, cut into shapes with tumbler or knife, and fry brown in hot lard. When done, sift on fine sugar. Made fresh every day and placed temptingly in the window, they will sell fast. After you are well established, you should sell at least 2 dozen donuts at a profit of a penny apiece, 2 cards of gingerbread at 7 cents profit each, and 3 dozen dominoes at a profit of 5 cents a dozen. Total profit per day on 3 last articles in this section, 53 cents. Section 4. Sweetmeats and confectionery. If you find that children are your best customers, you may cater yet further to their taste. Remember that your success depends upon your keeping choice articles. It is surprising how children find out the best candy stores, and how quick they are to discern between good and bad stock. By making your own goods, you can sell a little cheaper than the dealers who have to buy. 66. Walnut candy. This is something which all children like. Put the meats of the nuts on the bottom of tins previously greased to the depth of ½ inch. Boil 2 pounds of brown sugar, 1/2 pint of water, and 1 gill of molasses, until a portion of the mass hardens when it cools. Pour the hot candy on the meats and allow it to remain until hard. 67. Chocolate caramels. A favorite with girls. Boil a quart of best molasses until it hardens when put in water. Before removing from the fire, add 4 ounces of fine chocolate. Pour a thin layer into tin trays slightly greased. When it hardens a little, cut into squares. You can sell these as low as 30 cents a pound, and still make a good profit. 68. Peppermint creams. Take 1 pound of sugar, 7 teaspoonfuls of water, and 1 teaspoonful of essence of peppermint. Work together into a stiff paste, roll, cut, and stamp with a little wooden stamp such as are bought for individual butter pats. 69. Molasses candy, white. All children want molasses candy. 2 pounds of white sugar, 1 pint of sugar house syrup, and 1 pint of best molasses. Boil together until the mass hardens when dropped in cold water, and work in the usual manner. Sell by the stick, or in broken pieces by the pound, half, and quarter. 70. Blanched almonds. Shell the nuts, pour over them boiling water. Let them stand in the water a minute, and then throw them into cold water. Rub between the hands. The nuts will be white as snow, and, if placed prominently in the window, very tempting. Sell by the ounce. 71. Fig paste. This always has a good sale. Chop a pound of figs and boil in a pint of water until reduced to a soft pulp. Strain through a fine sieve, add 3 pounds of sugar, and evaporate over boiling water until the paste becomes quite stiff. Form the paste into a square mass, and divide in small pieces with a thin-bladed knife. Roll the pieces in fine sugar, and pack in little wooden boxes. 72. Fig layer candy. 1/2 pound of drum figs, 1 pound of finest white sugar, white of 1 egg, 1 tablespoonful of cold water. Make sugar, egg, and water into a cream, and mold like bread. After figs are stemmed and chopped, roll a fig to 1/4 of an inch in thickness. Place the rolled fig between 2 layers of cream, pass rolling pin over lightly, and cut into squares of any desired size. Delicious, if well made, and always saleable. It is astonishing what vast sums accumulate from the children's pennies spent for candy and sweetmeats. Many cases could be given of persons who have kept small stores and been supported solely by the little streams of coppers and nickels. Get the children's confidence, learn their names, always have a bright, kind word for them, and bait your hook occasionally with little gifts of sweets. They will flock to you like bees to a flower garden. Section 5. Preserves, pickles, and jellies. We put these sweets and sours into one group because they sell best when in proximity. Almost everything depends upon the way they are put up. If the fruit shows artistically through the glass jars, or the pickles are put up attractively in cute little bottles with fresh painted labels, he must be a stoic indeed who can pass your show window without a coveting glance. Here are a few of the most popular things in this line. 73. Orange marmalade. Take equal weights of sour oranges and sugar. Grate the yellow rind from 1/4 of the oranges. Cut all the fruit in halves, pick out the pulp and free it of seeds. Drain off the juice and put it on to boil with the sugar. When it comes to a boil, skim it, and let it simmer for about 15 minutes, then put in the pulp and grated rind, and boil 15 minutes longer. Put away in jelly tumblers. Sell large glasses for 25 cents, small, for 15. 74. Brandied peach. The Morris Whites are the best. Take off the skins with boiling water. To each pound of fruit allow 1 pound of sugar and a 1/2 pint of water to 3 pounds of sugar. When the syrup is boiling hot, put in the peaches, and as fast as they cook take them out carefully and spread on platters. When cool, put them in jars and fill up these with syrup, using 1/2 syrup and 1/2 pale brandy. This is a very choice brand, and will only pay you where you have customers who are not sparing of their money. 75. Oxheart cherry. Of showy fruits, none can excel this. To each pound of cherries, allow 1/3 of a pound of sugar. Put the sugar in the kettle with 1/2 pint of water to 3 pounds of sugar. Stir it until it is dissolved. When boiling, add the cherries, and cook 3 minutes. Put up in jars that can be sold for from 25 to 50 cents. 76. Pound pared. They hardly weigh a pound apiece, but they look as if they do with their great white bulks pressed up against the sides of the transparent glass. Take the largest kind, Bartlett, Seckel, or any that have a delicious flavor. Pare the fruit, cut in halves, and throw in cold water. Use 1 pound of sugar for 3 of fruit, and 1 quart of water for 3 pounds of sugar. When the syrup is boiling, take the pears from the water and drop into the syrup. Cook until they can be pierced easily with a silver fork. Fill the jars with fruit, and fill up to the brim with syrup, using a small strainer in the funnel, in order that the syrup may look clear. Sell good-sized jars for 50 cents. 77. Grape jelly. Jellies in little tumblers take up small room, and they can be grouped in artistic shapes. Here is a good grape, mash fruit in a kettle, put over the fire, and cook until thoroughly done. Drain through a sieve, but do not press through. To each pint of juice, allow 1 pound of sugar. Boil rapidly for 5 minutes. Add the sugar and boil rapidly 3 minutes more. 78. Sweet pickles, apple, pear, or peach. For 6 pounds of fruit, use 3 of sugar, 5 dozen cloves, and a pint of vinegar. Into each apple, pear, or peach, stick 2 cloves. Have the syrup hot and cook until tender. Put up in attractive little jars with colored labels. Jars should sell for 25 cents. 79. Chow chow. Here is a very taking kind. Take large red peppers, remove the contents, and fill them with chopped pickles. The red of the peppers against the white of the glass gives a very pretty appearance. Small bottles that can be sold cheap will be the most popular. 80. Pickled walnuts. To pick out the nuts as nearly whole as possible, and steep in strong brine for a week, then bottle, add spice, and fill with vinegar boiling hot. Put up in very small jars. Have a jar from which to give samples if the dish is not common in the place. There are a vast number of other fruits, vegetables, and nuts, which you can use as custom shall demand. If you grow your own fruit and do your own work, the result is nearly all profit. If you have to buy the fruit, the selling price should be such as to give 1/3 profit. This is the percent which all manufacturers expect. Section 6. Toilet articles. These have a perennial sale. They are not confined to any season or age. Most of them, especially the French makes, come high, but they are composed of a few simple ingredients, and can be made by any person of ordinary skill. Here are a few of the best-selling. 81. Rose oil. Heat dried rose leaves in an earthenware pipkin, the leaves being covered with olive oil, and keep hot for several hours. The oil will extract both odor and color. Strain, and put in little cut glass bottles. 82. Cologne water. Take 1 pint of alcohol, 12 drops each of bergamot, lemon, neroli, 60 drops of lavender, 60 drops of bergamot, 60 drops of essence of lemon, and 60 drops of orange water, shake well and cork. 83. French face powder. Poudre de chypre 1 1/2 pounds, water, of millefleurs 1 1/2 drams. Put up in small cut glass bottles and give it a French name. Poudre de millefleurs will do. 84. Night blooming cereus. This is a very delicate and fragrant perfume. Spirit of rose 4 ounces, essence of jasmine 4 ounces, tincture of tonka 2 ounces, tincture of civet 2 ounces, tincture of benzoin 4 ounces. Cost $1.65 per pint. Put up in half-gill bottles at 50 cents each, $4. Profit, $2.35. In selling expensive perfumery, remember that the glass is cheaper than the contents, and you should therefore select thick bottles with small cubicle space. Tie pretty colored ribbons around the necks of the bottles, and put them, 4 or 6 together, in attractive boxes with the lids removed. You must in every way court the patronage of the ladies, and you can in some cases well afford to give a bottle to the leader of a social set with the understanding that she recommend it to her friends. Section 7. Varnishes and polishes. With your plants, meats, preserves, candies, and perfumery, you have already got much beyond your show window. You now have a department store on a small scale, and as you make the goods yourself, you ought to be making money. There are some things you can add for which the demand will not be great, but then the cost of making is small. Besides, the goods, put up in bright tin boxes with colored labels and built up in pyramids on your shelves, will give your store an artistic and attractive appearance. Here are a few things that might profitably occupy your spare moments. 85. Stove blacking. Take half a pound of black lead finely powdered, and mix with the whites of 3 eggs well beaten, then dilute it with sour beer or porter till it becomes as thin as shoe blacking. After stirring it, set it over hot coals to simmer for 20 minutes, then, after it has become cold, box and label. 86. Shoe blacking. Mix 6 parts of fine bone black, 28 of syrup or 4 of sugar, 3 of train oil, and 1 of sulfuric acid. Let the mixture stand for 8 hours, then add with vigorous and constant stirring 4 parts of the decoction of tan, 18 of bone black, and 3 of sulfuric acid, and pour the compound into a little tin boxes. Cost, 1 cent per box, sell for 5 cents. 87. Furniture cream. Take 8 parts of white wax, 2 of resin, and 1 pint of true Venice turpentine. Melt at a gentle heat, and pour the warm mass into a stone jar with 6 parts of rectified oil of turpentine. After 24 hours it should have the consistency of soft butter. Sell in small 10-cent boxes. 88. Leather polish. Beat the yolks of 2 eggs and the white of 1, mix a tablespoonful of gin and a teaspoonful of sugar, thicken it with ivory black, add it to the eggs, and use as common blacking. This will give a fine polish to harnesses and leather cushions, and also may be used as a dressing for ladies' shoes. These are the varnishes and polishes that sell the most readily, but you must not think they will sell without advertisement, recommendation, and display. Label them attractively, and tell just what they will do. It is well to have a little hand press so that you can print your own labels, and also some marking ink for posters. Use ink freely, and, if you can get the recommendation of some townsman who has tried one of your varnishes or polishes, give it a large display. Section 8. Soaps and starches. Soaps are easily made and very profitable. Several firms have made fortunes in soap during the last few years. You can make just as good an article in your own home and reap all the profits. With starches, take pains to let your customers know that you have different ones for different kinds of goods. Many use the same starch for all kinds of washing. You must show people that your starches are made especially for various kinds of garments, and that the effect will not be so good if the wrong starch is used, or one kind applied indiscriminately to all kinds of goods. 89. Poland starch. Mix flour and cold water until the mass will pour easily, then stir it into a pot of boiling water, and let it boil 5 or 6 minutes, stirring frequently. A little spermaceti will make it smoother. When cold, put in pasteboard boxes and sell cheap. 90. Blue starch. For calicos. Boil a piece of blue, 4 inches square, in 3 quarts of water. Put it in a well-corked bottle, and sell for a little more than Poland. 91. Gum Arabic starch. For lawns and white muslin. Pound to a powder 2 ounces of fine, white gum Arabic, put it into a pitcher, and pour a pint or more of boiling water upon it, and cover it well. Let it stand all night, and in the morning pour it carefully from the dregs into a clean bottle, and cork it tight. Recommend this to your customers, and tell them that a tablespoonful of this stirred into a pint of starch made in the ordinary manner will restore lawns to almost their original freshness. 92. Starch luster. This is a substance which, when added to starch, gives the cloth not only a high polish, but a dazzling whiteness. To produce this result, a little piece the size of a copper cent is added to half a pound of starch and boiled with it for 2 or 3 minutes. Now we will give you the whole secret. The substance is nothing more than stearine, paraffin, or wax, sometimes colored by a slighted mixture of ultramarine blue. You can buy it in quantities for a trifle, and sell it in little balls or wafers at a profit of 500%. 93. Hard soap. 5 pails of soft soap, 2 pounds of salt and 1 pound of resin. Simmer together and when thoroughly fused turn out in shallow pans so as to be easily cut. This costs little more than the labor, and by being able to undersell rivals you should have a monopoly in soap. 94. Savon Diamanda. This is a celebrated French toilet soap. The recipe is French suet 9 parts, olive oil 1 part, saponified by caustic soda. Toilet soaps are also made of white tallow, olive, almond and palm oil, soaps either alone or combined in various proportions and scented. The perfume is melted in a bright copper pan by the heat of a water bath. Section 9. Soft drinks. You may now, if you have a counter, try a few soft drinks. A soda fountain is expensive and perhaps would not pay at this stage, but you might try it when you have more capital and customers. First try. 95. Root beer. Get a bottle of the extract, and make it according to the directions. Cost of 10 gallons extract and sugar, $1. Put up in pint bottles at 5 cents a bottle, $4. Profit, $3. 96. Ginger pop. Put into an earthen pot 2 pounds of loaf sugar, 2 ounces of cream tartar, 2 ounces of best ginger bruised, and 2 lemons cut into slices. Pour over them 3 gallons of boiling water. When lukewarm, toast a slice of bread, spread it thickly with yeast and put it into the liquor. Mix with it also the whites of 2 eggs and their crushed shells. Let it stand till next morning. Then strain and bottle. It will be ready for use in 3 or 4 days. Profits about the same as the last. 97. Lemonade and orangeade. Get juicy fruit and allow 1 orange or lemon to a glass. The tumblers for orangeade should be smaller than those for lemonade. Profits about 2 1/2 cents a glass. Have your counter for drinks as near the door as you can. Keep your bottles on ice. Make your lemonade to order, and let it be known that all your beer is home brewed. Ask your patrons if they like it, and take kindly any suggestions they may make. Let them know you want to please them. Section 10. Dairy and other farm produce. If you live in the country, or if your grounds are large enough, you can add immensely to your profits by keeping a cow, a pig, some poultry, and a few hives of bees. You will now need help: a boy to milk your cow, run on errands, and deliver goods, and a girl to help you in the workroom and to assist in the store. 98. Golden butter. 99. Fresh eggs, 100. Sweet milk, 101. Sparkling honey, 102. New cheese, and 103. Clean lard, are among the attractions and the sources of revenue you can add to your already prosperous business. Churn your butter till it is entirely free of the milk, salt it well and put it up in tempting balls, rolls, or pats. A little finely strained carrot juice will give it a golden color without any disagreeable taste. For poultry, the Wyandottes and Plymouth Rocks are the best year-round layers. Have a sign: eggs laid yesterday, or this morning's eggs. Sell milk by the glass, pint, or quart, only be sure it is always fresh. Get a small cheese press, and if you find a good sale for your cheese, milk, and butter, add to your stock of cows. Find out which of the 3 dairy products pays the best, and work accordingly. Invite people to taste your good things, and tell them that everything is homemade and fresh. These are perhaps the most profitable things in the world, as they entail no expense after the first outfit. Have honey both strained and in the comb as you learn the wants of your patrons. The pig will keep you in meat a large portion of the year, besides supplying to your store a limited quantity of nice white leaf lard, which should be sold in little bright tin pails. 104. White pork. If you do not care for swine's flesh, you can sell it for from 12 to 20 cents a pound. People are glad to buy fresh killed meat and to pay a good price for it when their ordinary purchases have been many days slaughtered, and often freighted 1,000 miles. 105. Poultry to ordered. Do not keep your hens beyond the 2nd year, as they are not so good layers after that age. Have always a stock of fat fowls ready for market. Spring chickens. Here is another line in which you can invest. A chick costs in feed about 25 cents for the season, and they sell readily for $1 a pair. Section 11. Garden vegetables. If you have a small garden, you can supply your store with fresh vegetables during the season. It is very important that they should be fresh. Having your own garden, you can guarantee that quality to your customers. Take orders for the following day so that the vegetables may come straight from the garden into the hands of the consumer. Here are the 6 which grocers say sell for the largest profit. 106. Cut to order asparagus. Asparagus is at least 1/2 better when newly cut. Choose the white variety, and tie in small bunches. Sell at 15 cents a bunch. 107. Quick market strawberries. Pick them fresh every morning. Put them in the usual boxes, and set them on a stand in front of the store. Have 1 or 2 large ones on the top of each box, and lay around them 2 or 3 strawberry leaves wet with dew. 108. Round tomatoes. If possible, have them so fine and large that 5 will fill a quart box. Sold even as low as 5 cents a box, they are very profitable. This is at the rate of a penny apiece, and a thrifty tomato plant will bear 50. 109. Pint peas. Peas in the pod are not attractive, but very young peas, when shelled and put in little bright tin pails, are irresistible. The very sight of them tickles the palate. Rise early, and pick and shell a pint of peas. If they do not sell, you can have them for your own dinner. Do not keep them overnight, as the succulent quality is soon lost after shelling. 110. String beans. Nothing easier to raise, nothing easier to sell. You can raise a bushel on a square rod if properly managed. Sell at 15 cents a half peck. 111. Green corn. Sell at 25 cents a dozen ears. Be careful to pick before the kernels become large. Have a notice: corn picked to order. We have found out from the grocers what garden products sell the best. Now, suppose you have only a single rod of ground, about the size of a large room, and want to know how to plant it to the best advantage. Below will be found a comparative table of what, under generous cultivation, may be expected of each of the above in the way of hard cash from a single rod of soil. Asparagus, 40 bunches at 15 cents a bunch, $6. Strawberries, 33 baskets at 15 cents a basket, $4.95. Tomatoes, 150 quarts at 5 cents a quart, $7.50. Peas, 16 pints at 25 cents a pint, $4. Beans, 1 bushel at 15 cents half peck, $1.20. Corn, 8 dozen ears at 25 cents a dozen, $2. If you have 20 square rods instead of 1, your revenue from your garden may be increased by that multiple, and you will have an opportunity to try all the above sources of profit. Find out what fruits and vegetables sell best in your neighborhood, and plant accordingly. And remember that the key to your success in garden produce is the single word fresh. Section 12. School supplies. There are a number of articles in use in our schools which can be made at home. Once let it be known that you can make and sell as good a quality as the imported article, and at a cheaper price, and you will have the patronage of all the schools in your vicinity. Advertise wisely, and in cases where the trustees furnish the things, make a low bid for the entire school supply. 112. Book covers. Save all your paper bags, iron them out smoothly, and make them into book covers. Sell them at 3 cents apiece, or take the contract to cover all the books in the school at 2 cents apiece. 113. Artificial slates. Take 41 parts of sand, 4 parts of lampblack, 4 parts of boiled linseed or cottonseed oil. Boil thoroughly, and reduce the mixture by adding spirits of turpentine so that it may be easily applied to a thin piece of pasteboard. Give 3 coats, drying between each coat. Finish by rubbing smooth with a piece of cotton waste soaked in spirits of turpentine. You have an excellent slate or memorandum book, which may be sold for 10 cents. Use a slate pencil. Made in large quantities, these are very profitable. 114. Cheap ink. Boil 1½ pounds of logwood with sufficient residue water to leave a residue of 2½ quarts. When cold, add 1½ drams of yellow bichromate of potash and stir thoroughly, and the ink is ready for use. The above will fill 25 large ink bottles, which, at 5 cents apiece, come to $1.25. Cost, 25 to 35 cents. 115. School bag. Take a piece of cheap white linen and make it into a pretty bag, with a strap to go over the shoulder. Have a colored stamp to put on the initials of the purchaser. Sell for 25 cents. 116. Pen wiper. Take any cheap material and cut in 3 circles of different sizes. Scallop the edges and stitch together at the center. If the circles are of different color as well as size, it will be attractive to the children, and still more so if the smallest circle has an initial letter. Sell for 5 cents. 117. Children's luncheon. Thousands of parents would rather pay a trifling sum than be put to the trouble of providing and preparing lunch. Make a little repast cheap and neat. 1 large or 2 small sandwiches, a small dish of jelly or a tart, a pickle or a piece of cake. Put in a collapsible paper box and tie with red or blue ribbon. Cost about 6 or 7 cents. Sell for 10 cents. Section 13. Christmas presents. You can do well with these if you are supple with your fingers and nimble with your tongue. Learn what artistic designs are becoming popular, and keep abreast of the latest fads. The fabric called denim is coming more into use every year, and as it is very cheap, and comes in all colors, it is especially suited for making, covering, and adorning all kinds of household handiwork. A ramble through the large metropolitan stores with a request to see the various lines of goods used for trimming and ornamenting will astonish you. The endless varieties of silks, satins, velvets, plushes, linens, laces, feathers, and so forth should suggest to a lively mind infinite possibilities in the way of made-up articles of market value. Our list below must be taken only as samples of what a fertile mind and ingenious fingers can accomplish. 118. Sofa pillow. Take a piece of India silk of different colors, and let them all taper to a common center upon which a monogram is worked. Relieve the bareness of the white by a running vine and morning glories. A pillow of this kind, which cost $3, sold for $8. The varieties of the sofa pillow are almost endless. Get a book of designs and learn to make the organdy, butterfly, duck, clover, daisy, cretonne, yacht, mull, poppy, and many others. 119. Jewel tray. Cut a circle of delicate ecru linen 22 inches in circumference, and sew a piece of bonnet wire around it, notching or looping it so as to give an escalloped edge. Have a pretty little motto in the center, and fill the remaining space with snowdrops worked in ivory white, each tiny petal tipped with pale green, and with a long green stem. When properly worked, this is very pretty, and ought to command a good price. 120. American flag. Make it 5 feet in length by 3 in width, and smaller flags in the same proportion. There should be 7 stripes of red bunting, 6 of white, and a field of blue. On this field stitch 45 stars of white. Face the inside of the flag with a piece of strong canvas for the admission of the pole. If the stars are of silk, the price should be at least twice that of linen. 121. Hairpin case. Cut a piece of fine white duck in the shape of a square envelope and embroider upon the flap any simple design in wash silk. Close with button and buttonhole. Sell for 50 cents. 122. Chair cushion. Take blue denim with dark and light shades happily combined. Let the tint of pale blue be appliqued on, and then worked in different shades of this color with rope floss in long and short stitch. The back may be of plain denim unadorned. 123. Lampshade. You can get a dozen skeleton frames for a few cents, and French crepe paper which costs little, and your own cultivated taste and deft fingers will do the rest. A cheap kaleidoscope will suggest an infinite number of designs. One lady made an elegant shade at a cost of $2.50, and sold it for $6. 124. Bookmark. Silk, worsted, and 2 hours of spare time will give you a pretty bookmark which should sell for 50 cents, at a cost of making, time not reckoned, of only 15 cents. 125. Handy workbox. Take a pasteboard box and lined with denim. Include a tiny pin cushion, scissors case, thimble holder, needle book, flap, and spool wires. 126. Pin cushion. Always popular, but the form changes every season. Cover with silk or satin, and overlay with strips of fine linen embroidered in festoons of tiny blossoms. Border with ruffle of lace, and put small rosettes of baby ribbon at the corners. 127. Catch bag. A convenient receptacle for laundry, schoolbooks, shoes, and many other articles. It should be in envelope form, the dimensions 18 by 12. The material may be white linen, upon which you should work a gold border. Make an attachment for hanging on the wall. 128. Court plaster case. Cut 2 circles of celluloid 2 inches in diameter, and 4 other circles of thin drawing paper for inside leaves. In these little pockets place pieces of court plaster, pink, white and black, cut into strips or squares, and held flat and stationary by having their comers thrust into slits cut in the paper. Punch holes in the left side of the case, and tie with baby ribbon. Paint or work on outside cover a design of birds with I cling to thee, or a design of beggarticks with I stick to thee. 129. Postage stamp holder. Same as above except that the shape is square. 130. Photograph framed. Take a piece of stout pasteboard and turn down the corners. Cut the inside to the proper size, and stitch a piece of chamois over the pasteboard. Tie bits of colored ribbon on the corners. Sell for 25 cents. 131. Match safe. Cover a tin box of any shape with one of the lesser inflammable materials such as chamois, and on the front attach a piece of match paper. Sell for 10 or 15 cents. 132. Wall pocket. Take bamboo sticks or thin strips of wood and glue them together in the form of a pocket frame. The sticks should be about 2 inches apart and the outer latticework a little lower than the inner. Wind colored ribbons around the sticks and have a circular headpiece for attachment to the wall. 133. Glove box. Easter present. Cover a flat pasteboard box with pale gray linen or delicate blue. Work a spray of passion flowers on the top, enclosing some suitable motto. Christmas presents should be in the store at least 3 weeks before the holidays. As many donors like to attach the initials of the recipient to the present, have prettily worked letters for that purpose, and charge 10 cents a letter. Be careful to inform all possible customers of this arrangement, as many will be attracted by that feature. Call attention to this class of goods when your patrons are buying other kinds of your wares, and be always eager to show your latest designs. Remember that taste in this department is as important as the word fresh in Section 10. Section 14. Miscellaneous articles. Here are a few other things to complete the list of 100 which you can make in your own home. You will discover many others for yourself as your trade increases, and your friends make suggestions. The secret of success is to find out what people want, and then give them a better and cheaper article than they can get elsewhere. You will find your customers' wants changing according to the season or the newest fad. Things which you expected to sell will often be left on your hands. You must be prepared to take advantage of this. Drop the price when the demand falls, and always have in your mind some new article of home manufacture to take the place of that whose popularity is waning. Keep eyes and ears strained for the newest thing. As it was said of a certain burglar that he never saw a lock without the thought, "How can I pick it?" So you should never witness the sale of any article without the query, "How can I make it?" The following are easily made, and some of them very profitable. 134. Hot gems. If you can work up a demand for hot gems, you can make a good profit. Take a pint each of flour and milk, an egg, and half a teaspoonful of salt. Beat the egg until light, add the milk and salt to it, and beat gradually into the flour. Bake 20 minutes in hot gem pans. The quantities given will make a dozen gems. Notice should be given of the hour of the day when they may be expected to be fresh from the oven. Charge 25 cents a dozen. 135. Sliced watermelon. Nothing so delights the heart of a boy. Cut a large ripe melon into half slices, rather thick, and lay them on ice in the show window. Cost of melon and ice, 50 cents. 20 slices at 5 cents each, $1. Profit, 1/2. 136. Toothsome pies. Roll 2 strips of paste for the upper and lower crusts. Place the latter in position after moistening the plate, and fill with the prepared material already sweetened and seasoned. Lay on the upper crust, and make a little slit in the center. Put in hot oven, close draft after 15 minutes, and bake from 50 minutes to 1 hour. Charge 25 cents for good deep pies. 137. Ice creamed. You can do well with this in warm weather, if you have a room suitable for serving. 1 pint of sugar, 1 of water, and 3 of cream, the yolks of 5 eggs and a large tablespoonful of the flavoring extract. Boil the sugar and water 25 minutes. Beat the eggs with 1/4 of a teaspoonful of salt. Place the basin of boiling syrup in another of boiling water, and, stirring the yolks of the eggs into the syrup, beat rapidly for 3 minutes. Take the basin from the fire, place it in a pan of ice water, and beat until cold. Add the cream and extract, and, placing the mixture in the freezer, pack around with ice, alternating with thin layers of salt. Turn the crank until the cream is frozen hard. 138. Pork and beans. You can make a large profit on pork and beans in places where there is a demand for them. Both are cheap, and you can make a handsome profit on a dish selling for 35 cents, the dish to be returned. It is well if you can to make a bargain to supply families once a week on particular days. This dish takes well in all parts of New England. 139. Tomato ketchup. Raising your own tomatoes, you can make it at a trifling cost and reap a profit at 10 cents for small bottles. For 12 ripe, peeled tomatoes, take 2 large onions, 4 green peppers, and chop fine. Add 2 tablespoonfuls of salt, 2 of brown sugar, 2 of ginger, 1 of cinnamon, 1 of mustard, a nutmeg, grated, and 4 cupfuls of vinegar. Boil all together for 3 hours, stirring frequently, and bottle while hot. 140. Mincemeat. Many housekeepers prefer to buy the preparation rather than to be at the trouble of making it. Lean beef, 2 pounds, beef suet, 1 pound, apples, 5 pounds, seeded raisins, 2 pounds, currants, 2 pounds, citron, 3/4 of a pound, pounded mace and pounded cinnamon, 2 tablespoonfuls each, 1 of grated nutmeg, 1 each of cloves and allspice, brown sugar 2 1/2 pounds, sherry wine, 1 quart, brandy, 1 pint. Put up in 3-pound cans. The compound should make 6 cans, and you should charge 75 cents a can for so choice a product. You can reduce the expense if your customers wish a cheaper article. 141. Dried apples. If you have a few apple trees, you will often find it more profitable to dry for future sale than to sell the green fruit. Pare, core, and slice. Lay the slices in shallow pans or on clean boards and expose to the air until thoroughly dried. Then pack and store for the winter market. You should get at least 10 cents a pound. 142. Peanuts. No risk of loss on these, for they will always sell. Buy from a shipper or wholesale grocer a bag of peanuts and roast them in the oven until they are a fine brown, taking care not to burn. Profits in a bag of peanuts selling at 5 cents, 1/2 pint, 100%. 143. Cigarettes. Roll a pinch of tobacco in a piece of white paper and scent with any agreeable perfume. More profit than in cigars. 144. Tallow candles. Still used in the country, and to some extent by poor people in the city. Take beef and mutton suet in the proportion of 1 to 2. Melt and fill tin molds in which the wick has been previously inserted. The cost is little beyond the work. Charge 25 cents per dozen. 145. Lung preserver. Rock and rye. Here is the secret of this popular remedy for coughs, colds, and lung troubles. Rye whiskey, 3 gallons, syrup, made of rock candy, 1 gallon. Cost of whiskey and syrup, $3.50. Put up in pint bottles at 50 cents each, $16. Profits, $12.50, or nearly 300%. 146. Poison killer. You may not sell much of this, but it is a useful article to have in the house, and will keep indefinitely. Buy a quantity of powder of aristal, and put it in small pepper boxes, or in any box with a perforated lid, holding a few ounces. Dust the affected part freely with this, and the effect on the poisoned flesh will be magical. Use for any inflammation. Advertise it in placards. 147. Mucilage. Dissolve gum arabic in water until the whole is of the consistency of cream, and keep it from contact with the air. Add a few drops of sweet oil to prevent it from souring. The cost is almost nothing. You can sell it at 5 cents a bottle. 148. Popcorn. Use a large popper, and when the corn comes out white and hot, add a little molasses to make it adhere, and flavor with some popular extract. Mold it in balls, rectangles, or in any other fancy shape. A bushel of shelled corn, which costs $1, will make 125 balls. These at 5 cents apiece come to $6.25. This completes the list of 100 articles for your store. Observe that they are all made at home, and for that reason the profits are from 50 to 500%, while in the ordinary way of buying from the wholesaler, the storekeeper has to be satisfied with from 10 to 20%. You will discover for yourself many other articles which can be made at home and sold at a profit, and you will not confine yourself to homemade goods, but will handle anything for which there is a demand, whether you can make it yourself or not. Of course, if you make all the above goods, you will need much help, the cost of which will diminish somewhat the profits, but the design is that you begin on a modest scale, at first doing all the manufacturing yourself, and call in assistance as your business and capital grow. In writing this chapter, the author has contemplated a lady as keeping a store of this kind, but a gentleman can do much of the work as well, and some sections of it better. Perhaps the ideal store would be that kept by husband and wife with growing children to assist. Now let us have the experience of a lady who has tried our plan. Mrs. J.G. says, by the death of my husband I was left alone with 3 children, Wilhelm 15, Gertrude 13, and Egbert 10. I had no means, though, fortunately, my little place in the suburban town of T was free of debt. It consisted of a neat house and 3 acres of land. Having a fondness for plants, I cultivated them in curious ways, while keeping my little family together by taking in sewing. One day a lady who was spending the summer in T called and inquired what I would take for a pea vine which was growing in a tumbler of water. I was surprised, as I had not thought of making merchandise of my plant pets. She purchased a number of pretty little odd things of vegetable life with which I had amused myself, and suggested that I might earn something by cultivating rare forms of plants. It was a new idea to me. I had not thought there was any money in what had been to me only a pastime, but I increased the number of my plant curiosities, and the lady and her friends bought them all. Then my friend said to me, "Why don't you keep a home store? You have so much taste, I think you would do nicely." And pray, what is a home store? I inquired. Oh, it's a store where the things are all made at home. But I have no capital. You need no capital. See, the things are all made at home. Begin with a few tea dishes. So I bought a ham, sliced it thin, and laid some sprigs of parsley around it. I also made some artificial honey from a recipe in an old cookbook. With the money I thus earned, I had my window enlarged into a show window, and put in a variety of vegetables from my garden, taking care they should be strictly fresh every day. I had such success that, at the suggestion of my lady patron, I began to make a great many other things: pastry, preserves, sweetmeats, and toilet articles. I also purchased 100 fowls, and served my customers with fresh eggs. My trade grew so that I decided to have a real store, and so, at an expense of about $50, I had my 2 front rooms made into one and fitted up with shelves and counters. I purchased a cow and a pig on credit, and also 2 or 3 hives of bees. The people seemed to appreciate my fresh eggs, milk, butter and honey, and I soon paid all my debts and branched out in several other directions in the way of homemade goods. Hitherto, my 3 children had afforded me all the help I needed, but now I found it necessary to employ a cheap male laborer to look after my garden, orchard, cow, pig, and poultry, as well as to assist in making some of my goods. I made a great variety of things as new suggestions came to me almost daily, and also, as my customers called for them, I bought what I could not well make myself. Now, after 3 years' experience, I think I have the most profitable store of its size that can be found anywhere. Here is my account for last year. Articles. Cost. Sales. Profits. Household plant seeds 90 cents, $15.25, $14.35. Table dishes, meats, etc. 12.59, 36.94, 24.35. Pastry materials 53.36, 166.05, 112.69. Nuts and candy 61.66, 379.22, 317.56. Preserves, etc. 12.10, 49.75, 37.65. Toilet articles 9.05, 19.05, 10.00. Varnishes and soaps 3.18, 15.50, 12.32. Soft drinks 5.15, 31.55, 26.40. Vegetables seeds 2.50, 37.27, 34.77. School supplies materials 3.70, 13.71, 10.01. Christmas presents 5.25, 48.13, 42.88. Eggs, honey and the dairy keeping stock 75.50, 217.00, 141.50. Miscellaneous articles materials 55.05, 291.15, 236.10. Goods bought price paid 473.0 to 551.10, 78.08. $773.01, $1,871.67, $1,098.66. Deduct from the above the wages of laborer at $20 per month, $240, and I have left $858.66 as net profit for my year's work. The fruit for the preserves and pies was raised on the place, and I was under no expense for tin and paper boxes, these being collected from the houses of my friends. It will be seen that nearly 1/3 of the sales of my home store were of purchased goods on which the profit were only 15%, but so large was the profit on the homemade goods that the total sales were at the gratifying advance of 80%. Besides, I have had the living of my family and hired help. The expense for meats not furnished on the place, and for groceries not kept in the store, together with that for clothes, taxes, and sundries, was $316.05. Thus, I have paid all my expenses, and saved $540 for a rainy day. Pretty good, don't you think, for a woman, and a novice at that? Of course, I have worked hard, sometimes as many as 15 hours a day, but I have enjoyed it, and think I am on the way to a snug little fortune. Others with more talents, and under more favorable circumstances, I have no doubt, could do much better. The secrets of my success, if you ask me, are, first, the trading instinct, or the knowing what, where, and when to buy. I never let myself get out of a stock article. Second, courtesy to all, to the little barefoot colored boy just the same as to the grand madam. Third, economy, both in my family expenses, buying only what I need, and in my store, using in other ways that which will not sell in the original form, throwing nothing away unless it is spoiled, and even that giving, as a last resort, to my pig and poultry. And fourth, hard work, making and selling with my own hands everything I can, and carefully superintending everything I cannot. Chapter 6. Money in the Home Acre. Money at home, what a single acre will do. Gold in the soil, how a dike made a Klondike, $1000 at your back door, nickels and pickles. Livings and pickings, a fortune in a fat slice of earth, a great, great way to make money. There are multitudes of people who have a single acre of ground which could be made to yield much profit if they knew how to handle it. Others have an half or a quarter of an acre, not enough, perhaps, to give them a support, but which would add very materially to their income if properly cultivated. In this chapter we tell you what to do with the home acre, with examples of what others have done with it. 149. Money in pears. Do you know that 1 acre of the best yielding pear trees will bring more profit than a 500-acre farm without a 20th of the care or capital? 150. Greenbacks and greenings. It is a fact that 40 apple trees of the R.H. greening variety on a single acre have yielded a crop worth $400. 151. Plums of gold. A widow has in her garden 12 plum trees from which she regularly receives $60 a year. 152. The raspberry acre. There are repeated instances of $400 and even $600 being made clear from a single acre of raspberries. Seymour's 10 acres enough. 153. Profits in big peaches. When ordinary peaches were selling at 25 cents a bushel, a grower received $2 a bushel. This is how he did it. When the fruit was as large as a hickory nut, he employed a large force of laborers and picked off more than 1/2 the fruit. The rest ripened early, grew large, and were of excellent quality. His net profit that year from 11 acres was between $3,000 and $4,000. 154. Easy tomatoes. An easy crop, requiring little care. Says a grower in New Jersey, my single acre of tomatoes netted a clear profit of $120. I am aware that others have realized more than double this sum, but they were experienced hands, while I was new to the business. $400 per acre has frequently been realized from this crop. One person had 4 acres from which he received from $1,500 to $2,000 annually. 155. Assorted strawberries. Here is the experience of a novice. I ran a ditch through my wet and almost worthless meadowland, and set it out with strawberry plants. The second year I had an enormous crop. The larger berries were separated from the smaller, and the show thus made by the assorted fruit was magnificent. For 600 quarts I receive $300, it being a little early for strawberries in the New York market. It pays to grow early and large fruit. 156, livings in lettuce. 15,000 heads can be set upon an acre. These at the average price of $1.50 per hundred means $225 per acre. 5 acres of this crop should give a fair-sized family a good living. It is an auxiliary crop and may be sowed between heads of cabbage. 157, sovereigns in spinach. There are few more important crops in market. It requires little labor, can be cultivated evenings and mornings by a busy man, and pays about $75 an acre. 158, $1,000 celery. Celery may be grown as a second crop after beets, onions, or peas are cleared up. A little reckoning in the number of heads per acre shows that if the grower could get the consumer's price of 8 or 10 cents a head, it would yield a clear profit of $1,000. 159, fortunes in watercress. I have no doubt, says a large grower, that in situations where irrigation could be used at pleasure, or regular plantations made as for cranberries, judging from the enormous price watercress sells at, picked as it is in the present haphazard way, an acre would sell for $4,000 or $5,000. 160, the dollar blackberry. When the Lawton first came out, so great was the praise of it and the rush to obtain it that many roots were sent through the mail at $1 apiece, and the lucky discoverer netted a small fortune. But any grower has the same chances to discover a new variety, or to improve on his present stock. 161, nickels and pickles. Do you note that the enormous number of 150,000 cucumbers may be easily grown on an acre of land, and that at the low price of $1.50 per thousand this means $225 per acre? The crop also is very easily raised. 162, the beet lot. You can grow 80,000 roots per acre even when sown a foot apart, yet at $1 per hundred, deducting 1/2 for expenses, there still results a net value of $400. 163, the roasting ear. You can plant an acre of sweet corn, realize $100 for it, clear it off in August, sow the cleared ground with turnip seed, and from the second crop reap another $100. 164, paying peas. They are the early kind, marketed before the price falls. If grown under glass so as to be crowded on the market in early June, they will bring $4 a bushel, and at that rate an acre will mean $400. If delayed a month, they will not bring a quarter of that sum. 165, grated horseradish. The root is very easily raised, requires little cultivation, but is quite profitable. Grate finely and put in attractive white bottles with red labels. Give it some fancy name, as Red Orchard or Spring Valley. Little neck clams got their reputation largely in this way. Sell for 10 cents a bottle. Chapter 7. Money for Women. 100 Ways a Woman Can Earn a Living. A New Way to Remember Your Friends. The Woman with a Pet Dog, Solving the Servant Girl Question, Shopping for Pleasure and Profit, Profits of a Lady Barber, The Business of Samples, The Rise of the Trained Nurse, Dollars and Cents, How to Go to Paris Without Cost, Something That Will Sell to Millions of Shoppers, How Clara Louise Kellogg Got a Start, A Woman Who Sold Her Jewels for Newspapers, Women in the Civil Service. The field of woman's work has been vastly augmented during the last half-century. From school teaching and dressmaking, which were about the only occupations open to our grandmothers, the number of ways a woman can make a living have increased to over 200. To be exact, there are 221 occupations open to women, out of a total of 250. It is the design of the author to give only those methods which are unique, unusual, and presumably unknown to most lady readers. In a few cases these money-making methods must be considered as only tributary to a larger source of revenue, as when a salaried position or business enterprise is not sufficient for a support, or when a woman wishes to help the family eke out a living, but in most cases it is expected that the suggestions, if followed, will be an adequate source of income. Several of these ways may often be united where one is insufficient. There is no need for any woman to marry for the sake of a home. The examples given will enable any lady of the least tact, skill, or enterprise to secure an independent living. 166. The school store. If you live near a public school, a small store containing candies, school supplies, and knickknacks for the children will be found to bring much profit. The store need not be large or conspicuous. A room in a private house will do. Children, like bees, are all fond of sweets. The store need be open only for an hour in the morning or noon, and at the close of school, so that other work may be carried on at the same time. A dressmaker, with hours arranged so as not to conflict, could combine very well these two ways of earning a living. 167. The hand album. Have an album made in usual style, except that the places for pictures are omitted. Smear each page with soft wax to the depth of 1/6 of an inch. When a friend calls, slightly heat a page and request him to lay his hands, palms down, upon it. In that way you can preserve the digits of your friends, and you will be surprised to find there is as much difference in hands as in faces. When your album is full, if you choose, you can consult a patent lawyer and arrange to protect your invention. A novelty of this kind would doubtless be immensely popular and enable the author to reap a financial harvest. 168. The novelty bakery. A woman who knows how to make tempting creations in flour can make a good living. Begin by taking your goods to the Woman's Exchange, of which almost every large city has at least one. If your baking is novel, from the exchange will come demands from private customers, and even orders from hotels. A New England woman, beginning in a small way, in a few months had an income of $33 per week. 169. The front yard snap. With a photographer's outfit, go through the better class residential sections of a city or town and take the pictures of the children which you will see in every street, and in almost every front yard. Get a child in a most striking position, on a wheel, or in a swing or hammock, or at play. Secure parents' consent to take the picture. No matter if they declare that they will not purchase, they will yield when they see a pretty picture of their child. Much money can be made at this. 170. The pet dog. Do you know that pet dogs often bring enormous prices? You want the Yorkshire Terriers, or the King Charles Spaniels, or some of the rare Japanese breeds. A lady in New York counts on $500 yearly as the income from the families raised from one dog, a King Charles Spaniel. 171. The box lunch. There is a large field for someone to cultivate in our great office buildings and factories. Thousands would pay for a light lunch which costs 5 cents and is sold for 10 cents. Rent a small room near a business center. Make known your occupation. Go through the places of business if possible, or if not, take a stand near the door, and if your lunch is tastefully arranged, it will find many buyers. After a time you will get regular customers. Profits 100%. 172. The hairdresser. A refined business for women is the dressing of hair. For $25 you can learn the business. Place samples of all kinds of bangs and switches in the window. They can be sold for a great profit, and if industrious, you can build up in a good neighborhood an excellent paying business, and best of all, it can be done in your own home. 173. Typo and steno. In many large cities, typewriting and stenography may be learned in the YWCA. Then, with a machine and a rented room cheaply furnished, a woman is all ready for business. Many women are making $25 per week. One enterprising young lady takes dictated matter in shorthand, and then typewrites it at her leisure, thus saving much time to her busy patrons. 174. The sewing school. Here is a vast unworked field. If you understand needlework and have a little business enterprise, you are certain to succeed. Advertise in the papers and get out circulars, stating that for the small sum of 25 cents per week you will teach all pupils plain and fancy sewing. Form your pupils into classes, and if you are gentle and patient, as well as skillful at the needle, you will in a short time have the work which mothers are glad to get rid of. And it can all be done in your own home. 175. Flat hunting. Rent a small office and advertise that for a trifling fee you will exactly suit persons looking for homes, and save them all the trouble. 3 or 4 hours a day are spent in house hunting, and 2 in the office. You must have a book with your customers' demands set down in detail, and another book with a careful description of each house to let. A commission might be exacted from both owner and renter. An enterprising woman could in a short time build up a large business in this way. 176. A tea room. Hire a counter in a fashionable store much frequented by ladies. Have a sign that fresh tea is sold here, made to order with good cream. Small accessories may be fresh rolls, toasted crumpets, bread and butter, and other light articles of food. Ladies weary with shopping will surely come to your counter to be refreshed. A lady in one of our large cities made a fortune by this means. The requirements are dazzling cleanliness, a smiling welcome, a cheerful place near the door, and hot, fresh tea. 177. Dress mending. Here is a good field. There is a vast army of women who would patronize a mending office rather than run around the city to find a sewing woman, or use their own limited time in the use of the needle. Have a tariff of prices for mending gloves, sewing on buttons, renewing the sleeves, putting braid around the bottom of dresses, etc. The right woman could earn a good living at this business. 178. Lace handling. The mending and washing of fine laces is a work that is given to experts, and commands high prices, yet is easily learned. In 5 lessons at $1 apiece any lady of ordinary intelligence can learn, or, cheaper yet, one can sometimes give services in return for instruction. You are then in a position to earn a great deal of money. Issue 1,000 circulars to the wealthier people of the city, letting them know of your enterprise. This plan combines the 3 advantages of fascinating employment, good pay, and work done at home. 179. Intelligence Office on the subscription plan. Buy a copy of the Social Register, send circulars to all persons named therein, announce that you have opened an intelligence office on a new plan. For $10 a year you will keep them supplied with as many servants as they want, and you will guarantee satisfaction. Make a specialty of securing servants for people going out of town. Thus you will go far towards solving the perplexing question for your patrons, and make an excellent living for yourself. 180. Professional mending. Hotels, boarding houses and bachelor apartments have loud and long calls for mending. Mothers with little ones, professional women, and school teachers, as well as men, have neither time nor taste for this kind of work. Have an outfit in a small satchel, which should contain a light lunch, a white apron, and various assortments of tapes, buttons, etc. In a short time one would have a regular round of customers. One lady who did this never had to go out of one large hotel for work. 181. The college cram. There is room for a lady with a knowledge of the classics and a faculty for teaching to take boys and young men and carry them over the hard spots in their education. These hard spots, which are known as examinations, conditions, etc., are the bane and bugbear of many a young man's education. In one town a lady earns $100 per month by taking pupils through the intricacies of algebra and Latin. 182. Shoe and wrap room. A room in some fashionable quarter where ladies could go after a journey on the cars and have the dust brushed off their wraps and their shoes polished would doubtless prove remunerative. 183. General convenience room. The last idea might be combined with this. Have a room in which, for the charge of a dime, one could get a glass of ice water, could read the morning paper, have his clothes brushed, and look over a map of the city or a directory, and have all the advantages of a toilet room. 184. Sick room delicacies. Another unoccupied field is the preparation of delicacies for the sick. Bouillon, chocolate, jellies and many other kinds of delicacies could be prepared and placed in a show window in some fashionable part of the town. The conditions of success are exquisite neatness and daintiness. It would pay well, for people stop at no cost in providing for their sick friends. 185. Shopping commission. If you live at a little distance from the city, a good business may be built up by shopping for your friends and neighbors. By dint of experience you know where to buy, and when your practice is built up you can buy cheaper by reason of larger purchases, and you can give both of these advantages to your patrons. Many women might find here both a congenial and profitable field. 186. School luncheon. Here is another good field. Tens of thousands of schoolchildren have to eat a cold luncheon. Rent a small room near a schoolhouse, and provide bouillon, clam and chicken soups, sandwiches, baked beans, lamb pies, with white and brown bread, plain cake and fruit. You will help to preserve the digestion of myriads of children, as well as fill your own pocket with cash. 187. Hatching birds. Buy half a dozen songsters at $1.50 apiece, the females at half that price. Get proper cages, mate the birds, provide soft nests made chiefly of cotton, and with care you can do an excellent business. Birds in good condition mate 2 or 3 times a year. One lady, with 18 pairs of canary birds, netted $500 a year. 188. Butter and egg store. Butter and eggs are two things which every housekeeper wants fresh, but which are difficult to obtain. Get some reliable farmer to supply you at stated dates, and procure a list of customers. Then, with a boy to deliver and a push cart for the merchandise, you have little to do but figure your profits. An advantage of this plan is that it gives you the most of your time for other work. The business may be extended almost ad infinitum. 189. Saratoga chips. These are a sample of what may be done with a single good article by one who knows how. One family has a weekly income of $12.50 from this means. 198. Fancy lampshades. Made of crepe papers, they are very cheap, and look almost as well as silk. Any woman of ordinary ability can make them, and they sell readily. She can buy for 60 cents material for a shade which she can sell for $1.25, thus more than doubling her money. 191. Beekeeping. This is another means of large profit. It can be carried on even in a city where there is a small plot of ground. Fill all the space not occupied by the hives with white clover and such other flowers as your study of bees will tell you they delight in. Buy a book about bees. The advantage of this industry is that the cost of supporting the bees is practically nothing. There is no risk. After the first small expenditure of capital for boxes and hives, all is profit. 192. Cleansing and bleaching. There are many things too costly to be entrusted to an ordinary washerwoman, and many other cleansing processes that do not come within that woman's sphere. Cleaning feathers, velvets, furs, gloves, silks, and many other articles afford a wide opportunity for one who understands the business. Who can take grease spots from carpets, fruit stains from napkins and table covers, paint from windows, thumb marks from books, and scratches from furniture? Here is a useful field. 193. Fancy soaps. Fortunes have been made from fancy soaps. The process of making is easy, and the variety of method is so great, and the possible ingredients so many, that there need be no danger of infringing on anyone's trademark. Get a recipe book and practice on the kinds given in the formulas, then branch out into new kinds. The sale will depend upon your ability. Give your product an attractive appearance. 194. Home architecture. Write to the secretaries or agents of church building societies. Many of these societies publish pamphlets, in which, in addition to the designs for churches, will be found many cuts for pretty little parsonages. From these you can compile an attractive little book of home architecture, which would sell to every person contemplating building a home, and almost everyone living in a rented house hopes someday to rear his own domicile. If you have a friend who is an architect, he would procure for you other books of plans. 195. Home ornaments. What is a home without at least a few trifling ornaments? An inventive mind can think of 100 inexpensive ways of beautifying a room. But most people are not inventive. If, therefore, you have that gift, and can think of a few novelties in lace and embroidered goods which you can make and sell for fractions of a dollar, you will have opened your way to constant and remunerative employment. 196. Doubtful debts. It is well known that in efforts that require perseverance and persistence women succeed better than men. Grocers, butchers, real estate agents, and in fact almost every businessman, has a large number of accounts, a considerable percent of which he considers worthless. To anyone who could succeed in collecting them, the dealer would give a very large percent, in some cases even amounting to half the bill. Many of these are really collectible if attempted with the persuasive arts of womanhood. Here is a large and profitable field for a woman having the right qualifications. 197. Dressing dolls. A fair profit can be made by taking orders for making dolls' dresses, as they can be bought and dressed for about one-half the cost of those already dressed. Persons giving the order should be required to bring the materials for the dress. 198. Fruit preservers. Vast numbers of people are in the country during the fruit season and cannot do up fruits, they must depend on the grocer. Let a thrifty, economical woman who knows how equip herself with sugar, fruit, cans and preserve kettles, and she will not long wait for customers if she makes her business known. The second year, her patrons having tested her talents and tasted her fruits, and finding them so much better than store goods, will flood her with orders. 199. A mushroom seller. An enterprising woman hired a cellar at a rent of $10 per month, had it fitted up with shelves, placed on these shelves in order, straw, fertilizers, and soil, then put on mushroom spawn, renewing it at intervals, as also at longer intervals the soil. Average sale of mushrooms per week, $31.50. Average expenses, $8.80. Profit per week, $22.70. 200. Poultry raising. Following is the experience of another woman in raising poultry. She bought 45 Minorcas because they lay a large white egg and are non-sitters and prolific layers. Each hen laid on an average 164 eggs per annum. She purchased also 40 Brahmas for sitters and for fattening. Total expenses for fowls and for keeping, $278.70. Total receipts, $1,144.11. Net profit, $865.31. 201. Home hothouse. Thousands of people will buy plants already started who would not go to the trouble to buy seeds, slips, and pots. There is also a large demand for cut flowers all the year round. Have a cellar for rooting, and a south room for sunning. A liberal use of cards and circulars, stating what you propose to do, will surely bring custom. The secret of the florist's business is to provide flowers for every month in the year, and to force or retard the flowers that suit the demands of each month. This is a very pretty employment for a woman, and can be done in her own home. There are 312 floral establishments in this country managed by women. The work is easy and tasteful to ladies. The elements of success are the habit of early rising, business ability, close superintendence of laborers, intelligent advertising, knowledge of plants, and promptness in filling orders. The best location is near a large cemetery. One florist thus located takes in from $1,500 to $2,000 per month during the busy season. 202. Art needlework. Here is the way a woman paid off a $600 mortgage on her home, and at the same time attended to her domestic duties. She bought linens stamped with designs, and gave her spare time to decorative embroidery. She disposed of her work at the Woman's Exchange and at the art stores. $600 in spare minutes are not a bad showing. Besides, one could form a class and add the income from teaching. Mrs. Clara Louise Kellogg began by giving lessons in embroidery at the age of 14. Before her 15th birthday she was earning $30 a week with these classes. 203. News agency. Keep the daily papers. Almost any lady who will go into the business could count on 100 patrons, and these by the recommendation of friends could easily be increased to 500. 100 patrons would mean at least $3 per week, and 500 patrons would mean at least $15 per week. Tact, enterprise, and good service are the qualities needed. If your place is on the main street, and you can make a show window for periodicals, your income will be much augmented. A woman came to this country and heard of a newsstand for sale for $250. She sold her jewels to purchase it. With her 2 brothers she made it a success, and it now supports 3 families. Courtesy and application, she says, were my capital. 204. Women's wants. Take advantage of bargain sales, ribbons, silks, lace, and velvets. They can be had, if you watch the papers, at very trifling cost, but wondrous are the shapes into which they can be made by woman's deft fingers. You can make boas, ruchings, berthas, lace bibs, draped collars, belts, etc. Every woman wants these things, and will buy them if they can be found in colors and style required. They can be sold at moderate cost and at a very large profit. 205. Home printing press. Pay $10 for a press, and some for type and other accessories. Print visiting cards, at-home cards, business, reception, and wedding cards, tickets of admission, etc. Give a specimen of your work to every one of your friends, and request their patronage. Place circulars with samples and rates in the stores, and solicit the favors of businessmen. Doing the work in your own home, you have no extra rent to pay as have printing establishments, and you can do the work much cheaper and still make a profit. 206. Short Service Bureau. Many people want help in an emergency, and for a short time only. The housewife is suddenly taken ill, a servant without warning leaves, company unexpectedly comes, stoves are to be put up, yards are to be cleaned, gardens dug, snow shoveled, clothes washed, and 100 other things done requiring short service only. Keep a list of men and women who go out at labor. Know accurately their whereabouts every day. Be ready instantly to supply anyone's demand. When it is known that you furnish that kind of service, your office will be in demand, and your patrons well willing to pay. 207. Delicatessen room. Here is a paying business that is not overcrowded, but success depends upon the quality of the goods. Make yourself a specialist in cookery. Homemade pies, plum puddings, orange marmalade, salted almonds, fancy cakes, jellies and jams can be made and sold at a good profit. Bakers and grocers will be forced to keep them when once there is a demand for your goods. This is no speculative idea. Many a woman has not only made a living, but accumulated a snug little fortune by this means. 208. Miscellaneous exchange. Many people have no use for some of their possessions, but desire something else. Others would be glad to get what these possess. Establish a place for the exchange of typewriters, sewing machines, bicycles, baby carriages, jewelry, bric-a-brac, etc. Charge both parties to the exchange a small commission. This plan has the advantage that it requires no capital, and hence has no risk. 209. Cap and apron plan. Here is a plan available near any large hotel. Have a place for the sale of aprons, waiters' jackets, cooks' caps, etc. Get out a great quantity of circulars, stating your plan in an attractive form, and have a boy to distribute them, one upon whom you can rely to hand one to every employee of hotel shop and store. Repeat the circulars every week until your business is thoroughly known. Arrange to keep the articles in repair, and engage the agency of some laundry establishment for their washing. Then with the work of selling, repairing, and laundering these goods you will have an established business. 210. Kitchen utensils. As a rule you can sell 5 kitchen utensils or you can sell 1 book. The former shows for itself, the latter must be exhibited and explained. Send to a large wholesaler for the most modern samples of labor-saving tools for the kitchen. Test them for a few days yourself. Then start out among your neighbors. A housewife will purchase anything that lightens labor if it is only cheap. An enthusiastic person can make many dollars a day selling useful articles for the kitchen. A woman for 3 months averaged $4 a day selling an improved coffee pot. 211. Wedding manager. How many brides shrink from the work of a large wedding, while at the same time feeling under obligations to have one? A lady who has an artistic taste and a knowledge of the best social customs may very properly undertake the management of a wedding. She should know what is proper for the bride's outfit, and how to dress her, how to decorate the rooms, what style of invitations to issue, and in short, all the delightfully perplexing details of a wedding. For this work she has a right to charge a fair sum, and if the wedding proves to be a very pretty one, she is entitled to the credit of it. When once the office of a lady manager is recognized, and the relief afforded to the bride's family appreciated, the fashion will quickly spread, and others will wish to avail themselves of your taste and skill. 212. Foreign homes. Here is an example of the pluck and enterprise of an American girl. Miss Mary Whitcomb went to Paris in company with a lady friend, and established a home for Americans in that capital. Her rooms accommodated 35. And such was the success of her venture that she is about to open another apartment. Think of it! You can go to a French city and hear the American language, associate with American people, and have American surroundings the same as if in the United States. Here is an opportunity for young women with small capital to see a foreign country and make money at the same time. 213, Lady Barber. There is a school in New York for the instruction of barbers. 3 months apprenticeship will give you a knowledge of the trade. One lady who graduated a year ago from the school now has 2 assistants, and is earning from $6 to $10 a day. 214, Mineral collections for schools. Dana's Mineralogy gives 1,400 places in the United States where rare minerals are found. There are 240,968 public schools, and each one needs a mineral collection. Why has no one thought of gathering these rare stones and selling them to our public schools? At $1 a school, the sale should be $240,698, but many rare collections would bring $5 and even $10 each. 215, Turkish bath. One lady opened a place for Turkish and Russian baths. She went around among her lady friends and acquaintances and secured the promise of a paying patronage. 5 promised their patronage every week, 8 every 2 weeks, and 24 at least once a month. Thus the sum of $60 per month was assured at the start, and this paid for rent and assistance, with a good margin of profit. 216, Trained nurses. Trained nurses in our large cities command $25 a week. The duties are exacting, but not difficult. Assistant nurses receive $15. The latter have less responsibilities, and are not required to spend so long a time in training. This is an inviting field for ladies who have gifts and tastes for this work. 217, Traveling companion. If you have a good education and can make yourself agreeable, your services ought not to go long begging for an engagement in this delightful occupation. Watch the advertisements in the daily papers. Better yet, insert an advertisement of your own, modestly stating your qualifications. The remuneration depends upon the wealth and liberality of your employer. 218, Paper flowers. This has become a distinct trade. You can learn in a few months. There is a paper flower store in Broadway, New York, which does an immense business. There are great possibilities in this line in every city. 219, French perfumer and complexion expert. How does this sound, Madame Racier, French perfumer? Equip yourself with perfumes, essences, tinctures, extracts, spirit waters, cosmetics, infusions, potiles, tooth powders, washes, cachous, hair dyes, sachets, essential oils, etc. All ladies like perfumes. Once let it be known that you are an authority on the subject, and you will lack neither patronage nor profits. 220, A woman's hotel. A hotel exclusively for women would no doubt be a paying investment. More than 50,000 ladies without male escorts stop every year in the hotels of New York City. A very large proportion of this number would patronize a cheap, clean, well-kept place, fitted up and conducted solely for the comfort of ladies. 221, Guide for shoppers. A department store in New York recently made a census of its customers, and from the count kept for a single week it was estimated that 3,125,000 persons pass through its doors every year. This for a single store. But there are thousands of stores. Vast numbers of these people are from the country, and do not know where they can trade to the best advantage. What a field is here for a shopper's guide! Ascertain what stores make a specialty of certain goods, what ones sell the cheapest in certain lines, and what days they make bargains in certain wares. Show by what routes the places are best reached, where to dine, etc. Fill a little book with just the information a shopper wants to know, call it the Ladies' Shopping Guide, put it on the market at 10 cents, and you can sell millions of them. 222, Bicycle instruction. Why may not a woman teach the wheel as well as a man? Many women are restrained from learning through the dislike of falling from the wheel into the arms of a strange man, commonly a Negro. A woman's bicycle academy would pay in any large city. 223, Cooking school. Madame Parloa and Madame Rohrer have set the example, and they will be sure to have many imitators. A course of instruction in cooking, costing $10, is a vastly better investment to any young woman than a course on a piano costing $100, or many times that sum. First, learn the art thoroughly yourself and then teach it to others. There is money in this, but it needs taste, tact, and work. 224. The boarding house to one who has a taste for cooking and a little marketing skill can do well in this somewhat overworked and not always paying business. The gains increase from 0 with one boarder, in geometrical progression, until $1 a head is realized with 20 boarders. Profits, $20 a week. With great skill and management, this may be doubled. 225. Pen engraving. If you have a circle of 100 friends, and can secure their patronage, you can make a fair living for one person at engraving cards. A lady with a large calling list should engrave $500 worth of cards a year. Expenses, $25. Remuneration for work, $475. 226. A ladies' restaurant. A restaurant where delicacies pleasing to ladies are made a specialty would surely pay. A lady who recently established one adjoining a large department store has been obliged to enlarge her premises to accommodate her crowd of patrons. 227. A woman's newspaper. One has just been started in a western city. The editors, reporters, printers, and press feeders are all women. Of course, it advocates women's reform. An enterprise of this kind requires considerable capital and is not without risk, but a woman of ability and experience can make it pay as well as a man, besides the advantage of an appeal directly to her sex in support of a paper conducted in this manner. 228. Advertising agent. A lady by her courtesy, tact, and gentle address is especially fitted for this work. All our great newspapers and magazines pay large salaries to successful agents, for, as a rule, the advertising department is the one that pays the dividends of the business. The shopkeepers and others who, by reason of repeated solicitations, give the cold shoulder to the male agent, would listen at least respectfully to a lady. On the whole, this field presents to ladies who have the right qualities better opportunities than to men. 229. The civil service. This is now open to women. There are more than 10,000 of these places to be filled every year. Clerkships range from $600 to $3,000. Very few fall below $1,000. These places, according to the civil service law, are filled by competitive examinations. There are thousands of bright young women who secured these places, not through any governmental pull, but by sheer merit in examinations. Get a book entitled Civil Service, by John M. Comstock, chairman of the United States Board of Examiners, for the Customs Service in New York City, and published by Henry Holt and Company. This book will give you a complete table of the positions open, the salaries attached to each, and a list of questions required to be answered. 230. Postprandial classes. Few, even among educated women, are masters of themselves to the extent of being able to rise before an audience, and without previous preparation express themselves clearly and creditably on whatever subject may be under discussion. A woman in New York, a member of Cirrhosis, made a reputation for bright, witty, after-dinner speeches. As she earned her living by newspaper work, a friend said to her, "Why don't you add to your income by teaching other women how to say a few graceful words in public?" She caught at the idea, and organized classes in the hitherto untaught art of postprandial speechmaking, and had capital success, earning $500 by it in one season. 231. Women druggists. The neatness of women, their delicacy and attention to details, qualify them admirably for the drug business. At the Woman's Infirmary, New York, the apothecary department is entirely in the hands of ladies. Drug clerks receive on the average of $9 per week. There are few lady proprietors, but there is no reason why there should not be more, as the business is very profitable. 232. Almanac makers. Of late years, many of the great dailies issue yearly almanacs. The mass of matter which goes to make up these publications can be collected as well by women, who have gifts for details, as by those of the other sex. In one publication house a woman is paid $30 a week to manage one of these almanacs, and in another $20 for the compiling of an index for the daily paper. 233. Women lecturers. Women of talent have earned a competence and almost a fortune on the platform. Lucy Stone was sometimes paid as high as $260 for a lecture, and Anna Dickinson also received large sums. The lady who hopes to succeed in this field must have fluency, the gift of oratory, self-poise, and a certain dramatic or magnetic power. 234. Magazine contributors. In this work, women are paid as much as men, and their facile pens are often able to turn out equal and even superior work. The Harpers pay $10 a page, the Atlantic Monthly, $6 to $10, the North American Review, $1.50. 235. Women physicians. Says a recent publication, there is a real necessity for women physicians. There are many ladies who prefer them, and in some cases will consult no other. There are now over 1,000 lady physicians in the United States, but the number will soon be doubled, and even trebled. Several of these lady physicians are making over $2,000 a year. One of them says, I have several well-to-do families whom I charge by the year. I charge $200 if they are people who are considered well off, less if they are poor. 236. Paper box making. Hundreds of women are making paper boxes, but as employees, not as proprietors. A woman made the first orange box in California. Seeing that it was a good thing, and that there would soon be a demand for others, she built a factory, and is now turning out 50,000 boxes a year. 237. Horticulture. Here is an example of what a California woman can do. A widow having 4 boys purchased 36 acres of land in San Jose, and under her personal care, aided by her boys, planted the tract with apricot, cherry, and prune trees. For 4 years she did all the pruning, a difficult task for a refined and delicate woman, accustomed as she had been to luxury and ease. Her prune trees alone netted $2,700 in 1 year. 238. Vocalists. A lady with a good voice is certain of making a living. Some have made fortunes with it. The demand is wide and various. If your taste does not incline to the stage, there is still a large field in the church. All large churches, and many small ones now, have paid choirs. The leading vocalists are commonly well paid. There are a great number of altos and sopranos in New York and Brooklyn, and in the fashionable suburbs, who receive $1,000 a year, or in excess of that sum. And this is an excellent compensation when it is remembered that the singer has nearly all her time in which to pursue some other vocation. 239. Packing trunks. This is a Paris occupation carried on exclusively by women. You leave your order at the office of the transportation company, and say when you want a professional packer. She comes, and is paid 50 cents, and sometimes $1 an hour for her services. She has genius for folding dresses so that they can be carried all over the world without a wrinkle. She wraps bonnets in tissue paper. She tucks away bric-a-brac in a way that makes breakage impossible. This industry might be introduced profitably into this country. 240. Women costumers. Costumes for the stage are now gotten up mostly by men. A woman of taste and ability could make a success of this business. Many rich ladies would consult them in matters of personal wardrobe. 241. Express office. A woman can sit in an office as well as a man. One woman in Boston tried it 4 years ago, beginning in a modest way. Now she has 3 offices and 5 teams in constant use. 242. A fancy bakery. An elegant and educated young woman in San Francisco took a dingy, dying little bake shop, with sickening sights and smells. She put it in order. In 2 months she had cleared $700, and in 4 months $1,800. Another woman in Brooklyn has just opened a bakery under very flattering prospects. She works on the plan of exquisite neatness, trimming her windows like those of a fancy goods dealer, and wrapping her bread in tissue paper. 243. Women grocers. There are not many women in the grocer business, but there is no reason why there should not be. A woman grocer in a western state who has been established since 1860 has a business worth $80,000 a year. 244. Why food and medicine samples. Proprietors of patent medicines and foods will give you a large commission to introduce their inventions into homes, and if successful, you will soon be employed at a good salary. These proprietors often pay ladies to introduce samples at country stores. The storekeeper will give you room rent free for a few days, with the understanding that he alone has the sale of the article in the place. 245. Samples and stores. Ladies of tact and good address are receiving fair salaries in the introduction of new articles. Every inventor is anxious to introduce his goods, and every storekeeper is equally desirous to sell. Call upon the proprietor of some new article of household use, secure territory, and then solicit space in a country store. After 3 or 4 days in one store, you should go to another, or perhaps to the next town. You may have to begin on a commission, but if successful, you can soon command a salary. 246. Samples from house to house. Others find ample remuneration in introducing new articles from house to house. We know a little lady in Brooklyn who was paid well for giving away samples of a new baby food. This is much more pleasant work than that of importuning people to purchase. 247. The woman beautifier. Whatever is of the nature of beauty appeals to the heart of woman. A lady who has the secret of making other women beautiful cannot fail of success. After making a study of your business, advertise that you understand the art of removing moles, wrinkles, warts, wens, birthmarks, tan, freckles, and superfluous hair. If successful in pleasing 1 or 2 leaders of fashion, you will have plenty of custom. 248. The manicure parlor. The manicure business is yearly increasing. For $15 you can learn the business. Implements will cost you $10 more. With the capital of $25 you can begin business, and if ladylike in appearance and gentle in touch, you can build up a big business in the right neighborhood. Any lady would prefer, in this art, to patronize one of her own sex. Get out cards and circulars and scatter them freely. There is room for many women to excel in this field. One lady who entered upon this work 2 years ago says she is on the road to a fortune. 249. The massage treatment. Another lady is having great success with the massage treatment. She has now more than 70 regular patrons. This method of cure is easily learned and readily applied. Hardly a lady among your acquaintances is in good health. It is a proverb that no woman is well. A vast proportion of these cases are nervous and will yield to the massage treatment. If you have strong muscles, you could readily achieve a large practice by this system, especially in summer resorts and places where invalids flock. 250. Ice cream parlor. This is not new, but possesses possibilities of a good living where the field is not overworked. There are 5 things necessary to success, and in the following order of importance: an attractive place in a clean, fashionable locality, good and generous plates of cream, unexcelled neatness, polite service, and popular prices. We have known a lady commencing business on these principles to oust quickly an older establishment run on slacker methods. 251. Flour packets. Buy quantities of flour seeds of all varieties. Put them up in very small envelopes, a few seeds in each one. Advertise that you will send samples for a penny a kind, 10 for 6 cents, 25 for 15 cents, 50 for 25 cents, etc. A large mail envelope will hold 50 or more of the smaller ones containing seeds. 252. Lady caterer. A woman has a fine chance to succeed as a caterer. Her taste in arranging tables should at least make her hold her own with business rivals of the opposite sex. Mrs. A. E. B. Marshall, a woman caterer of London, often manages a supper for 100 guests. 253. Delicacies for invalids. This is a new field which is being worked with much promise. Mrs. Kate Teachman, as she is known in the New York Sun, is working in this line with great success. She says, of course, if you want this sort of thing you must pay for it: 65 cents for a pint of broth, 75 cents for a pint of puree, 65 cents for a half pint of jelly, 25 cents for chopped chicken sandwiches. 254. Insect powder. A California woman who now owns 400 acres of land has a history that ought to inspire other women with a belief in their ability to get on in the world. In 1861 her husband died, leaving her with a debt of $1,400, 3 children, and a small farm mortgaged. Within 5 years she had paid the mortgage by taking boarders, raising chickens, and doing whatever offered. In 1877 she began to raise pyrethrum, the plant from which insect powder is made, some years having 100 acres planted with it. Now she has from 50 to 80 employees of both sexes, and is said to be worth $500,000. 255. Rice cultivator. A few years ago a young Iowa girl squatter, with her 16-year-old brother, took up a government claim in Louisiana, and went to planting rice, the first crop of which paid her $1,000. She lives in a 3-room cottage, and has a few fruit trees, plenty of good fences, and a sea of waving rice blades. Her nearest neighbor is another girl farmer who also settled a government claim, and is bossing an orchard that is giving her a comfortable living. 256. Yeast cakes. Here is what one woman did. Being thrown on her own resources, instead of following the beaten path of custom, she engaged in something novel. She made yeast cakes. Gradually her trade increased until she was obliged to hire help, and in time had to build an addition to the house to provide room for her thriving business. She now makes a good living, finding her work congenial as well as profitable. Here is her recipe. Take 1 dozen hops and boil 2 or 3 hours, remove from the fire and strain through a sieve, adding boiling water until there are 3 or 4 quarts of the liquid. Then thicken with cannelle until quite stiff, and 1/2 tablespoonful of ginger and 1/4 cup of molasses. Let it stand until cool, add 1/2 cup of salt yeast, or 1 cake of lard, and in the morning stir down with a little fine cornmeal. Let it rise again, then mix with cornmeal, roll, and cut with a cutter. This roll makes 100 cakes. They sell for 75 cents per 100, and retail for 1 cent apiece. 257. Physical culture. There are 12 million young women in the United States. The great majority of them have an ailment of some kind. In fact, it is almost impossible to find a perfectly healthy woman. Physical culture will add years to one's life. An eminent physician has estimated that 24 million years, or an average of 2 years each, can be added to the lives of our young women by simple bodily exercise of 1 hour each day. Get a book, study a chart, employ a teacher, then, after a thorough course, go about among your friends and form a class. Induce your pupils to bring other pupils. Advertise, lecture, give class exhibitions. Charge $5 a quarter for a class of 12, $4 for one of 15, $3 for one of 20. Mr. John D. Hoover, of Los Angeles, California, says, "When I entered a college of oratory, I was almost penniless. I took a special course in physical culture, with a view to teaching that art. It is now 18 months since I left the college, and during that time I have earned in clear cash from teaching physical culture the sum of $20,960. I have 1,507 pupils. My sister also has been very successful in teaching since she graduated, and has made quite a large sum of money." 258. House cleaning. Enterprising men have taken up the work of house cleaning with considerable success, but the business can be managed better by a woman than by a man. If your patrons are not too many, you can personally superintend the work in each house yourself, to the great satisfaction of the lady, who would commonly prefer to have it managed by one of her own sex. If your business increases so as to require your presence in the office, you can send a lady assistant to superintend the work. Have a fixed price per room where there is no extra work, such as painting, calcimining, and paper hanging. In the latter case, it is better to take the work by the job. 259. Selling oysters. Here is the way a woman with 5 little children gets a living. She hires a boy to open the oysters, which she then puts up in little pint pails and takes from house to house. She has many customers whom she serves regularly on certain days. Sales per week, 50 pints, or 25 quarts. Boy's wages, $1. Net, $3. 260. Pie cart. Hear what another woman says: "I have a little pie cart. It is nothing but a pie crate mounted on wheels. I bake every morning 10 pies, and in the afternoon I sell them hot from door to door. I make about 7 cents on a large pie, and 4 cents on small one. Average earnings per day, 50 cents. 261. Men's neckties. As every man, at least every well-dressed man, wears a tie, which must be renewed several times a year, white lawns every day, the number in demand is enormous. First learn the business, and then if you can sell them a little under the manufacturer's price, you are sure to dispose of all you can make. One girl earned $12 a week in this way. 262. Dancing teacher. The natural grace of women fits them better than men to be teachers of this art, especially to be instructors of young girls. Dancing teachers charge on the average $15 a quarter. There are several very successful lady teachers. 263. Haberdasher. The selling of small articles of the dress and toilet is profitable if the location is good and the competition not too severe. Where one cannot purchase the articles outright, she can sell on commission. Dealers in small wares of this kind often take in from $12 to $20 a day, of which on the average, 1/6 is profit. 264. Lady Architect. There is no reason why women should not succeed in this occupation, since it is one in which taste is a chief requisite. Several young lady graduates of college have entered it recently, and with flattering success. Architects charge about 3% on contracts. 265. Lost and found agency. In every large city, numbers of articles are lost by the owners and found by others every day. A single New York paper contains daily from 10 to 20 advertisements of lost articles. Open a small office, advertise in the lost and found column of the paper that you will receive any articles that may be found, and charge the owner a small commission. The agency could be carried on in connection with some other light business. Chapter 8. Money for Boys. 7 ways to get a place. The way a boy should advertise openings everywhere for the right kind of boys. Beating the booksellers. Stories about smart boys. 25 hints to hang your fortune on. How a towhead country boy became a great editor. A barrel full of postage stamps. How a poor boy became the richest man in the country. The journey from nothing to 40 millions. The best school in the world. The beginnings of great fortunes. Boys, you can do it. What? Get rich? Attain to fame? Yes, both. But I have no chance. Neither had Humphrey Davy, nor Jay Gould, nor Henry Wilson. But the first became one of the greatest of scientists, the second, the richest man in the country, and the third, Vice President of the United States. The best school is the school of adversity, said Rousseau, who, from a waiter in a restaurant, became the most noted man of his age. The boy, Horace Greeley, wandered up and down the streets of New York, asking of printers if they'd wanted a hand, and was everywhere laughed at and turned away. And the boy, George W. Childs, worked for $2 a week as a clerk in a bookstore, saved money, bought the Philadelphia Ledger, and became a millionaire. I have no capital, you say. But you have 10 servants, fingers, to work for you. Daniel Manning, ex-President Cleveland's Secretary of Treasury, started as a newsboy. John Wanamaker, the great merchant, commenced in a bookstore at $1.25 a week. Fred Douglass, the colored orator, began life as a slave without a cent. And P. T. Barnum, the world-famed showman, rode a horse for 10 cents a day. No chances. You have 5 on each hand. No capital. It is the blood that fights and wins. If you have no opportunity, make it. Do not wait for something to turn up, turn something up. Be a match for events. The world's great and rich men have forced their way to success at the bayonet points of their fingers, and with the iron pry of an unconquerable will. Boys, here are a few hints for you. Section 1. How a boy can get a place. 7 ways to get a position. 266. Free service. Make friends with a clerk. Offer to go with him on the delivery wagon. He will be only too glad of your assistance. The next step will be to help in odd jobs about the store. After a little familiarity with the business, you will find an opening. Your friendly clerk will have a sick day, or a leave of absence, or a vacation. The employer knows you have assisted the clerk, and will gladly give you his place for a day or a week, and from temporary employment it is but a step to a permanent place. 267. Special department. Make yourself familiar with a particular department of the work of shop or store. Suppose you take a pound of tea. It will surprise you to find out how many things you can learn about so insignificant a thing as a pound of tea. Ascertain the different brands, what markets they come from, where they are raised, how they are manufactured, in what quantities they are shipped, what are the fluctuations in price, who are the largest dealers, in what section of the country the trade is chiefly carried on. A study of these things will suggest other branches. A year given to a study of this kind, and you will know more about tea than the most trusted employee, whose knowledge is commonly of a superficial kind. Then, if you have an opportunity, you can surprise the merchant with a knowledge of his business, and he will be sure to give you a place as soon as he has an opening. One merchant says, "I always have a place for a person who can tell me anything about my business I don't know myself." 268. Show superiority of goods. A man occupied his spare moments in measuring the linear feet of advertisements contained in the different Sunday papers, and sent the result to the one which had printed the most. Go around among customers and find what brand of goods they like the best. Then report to the makers of these brands, and you may be sure they will take an interest in you if they see that you take an interest in them. 269. Advertising. Here is an advertisement for the right kind of boy, a brisk-footed, up-to-date boy, not afraid to work, will take a place at low wages for the sake of learning the business. Here you have 4 qualities in 2 lines: quickness, intelligence, industry, and low wages, the 4 things men are looking for, and such an advertisement will not wait long for a reply. 270. Influence. Great names are mighty. Introduce yourself to the greatest man in your town, and tell him your qualifications and ambitions. Do not be afraid of him. A truly great man is more willing to do a real kindness to a meritorious boy than you think. Robert Lennox, an old-time New York merchant, one Sunday at church saw a timid young person looking anxiously around as if for a seat. "Come with me," said Mr. L., "and I will give you a seat." The next day, the young man took a letter of recommendation to the store of a merchant. "Can I get a small bill of goods to begin business with?" he inquired. "I will trust anybody that Robert Lennox invites into his pew," was the reply. "I owe all my success in life," said Jonathan Sturges, "to the invitation of Robert Lennox to sit in his pew. With the great 10 Goodman's endorsement, you will find places waiting for you." 271. A trial week. All many boys want is a chance. When you apply in vain for a place, tell the proprietor you are sure that he needs you, and that you will come a week for nothing, better a month if you can afford it. If you really have the merit you think you have, it will be strange if you cannot displace some indolent or indifferent employee. 272. Commission. Offer to sell the dealer's goods on commission. You must leave a deposit to cover the worth of the goods. Take the articles to your friends and tell them you are trying to get a place. In most cases, if the goods are cheap, they will try to help you, and you will be able to make an excellent report to your employer. When he sees that your service means money in his pocket, he will be eager to employ you at a salary. Section 2. What boys can do. 20 hints for boys. 273. The Boy Magician. For 50 cents you can buy a book entitled The Parlor Magician, containing 100 tricks for the drawing room. A few weeks' practice should make you master of these arts, and then with your outfit you are ready for a money-making tour. It is best to take along a friend, as in some of the most clever tricks you will need an assistant. 274. The Glassblower. For 25 cents you can get a book with full instructions in the curious art of glassblowing. The wondrous forms you will be able to produce, the pleasure of the work, and above all the money derived from the sale of your products, will delight the heart of any boy. There is money in glassblowing after you have mastered the art, but if you would make a business of it you must apprentice yourself for a time to a master of the trade. 275. The Dime Lunch. There are thousands of businessmen and clerks in our large stores and offices who would prefer to pay 10 or 15 cents rather than go out to a restaurant. Especially is this the case in rainy weather. Pretty boxes with tasteful lunches could be prepared at a small cost and taken through the places of business. The important item is attractiveness. 276. Cancelled stamps. In every large city there are dealers who will pay you for cancelled stamps. Ordinary stamps bring about 10 cents per thousand, but rare ones bring very high prices. Ask all your friends for their cancelled stamps. In a store in New York there are several barrels full of postage stamps collected by boys. Each barrel contains 1,000,000. 277. The Boys Pressed. Do you know you can get a printing press with complete outfit, a full font of type, and 100 cards for $3? You can make money easily by printing cards and doing other small press jobs. Charge 50 cents, 75 cents, or $1 for cards, according to the quality of paper and amount of printing. 278. Saw and scroll. Most interesting articles, both of use and ornament, can be made by the scroll saw. Some have earned boys' fortunes in making these curious articles, and there is as much pleasure in making them as in getting the money for them. 279. The magic lantern. The very best lantern and slides can be obtained for $6. From that figure, the price runs downward to 50 cents. Purchase a good one and give parlor exhibitions at a charge of 5 cents admission. As you become more expert, you can increase your price. If you are a success at the business, your services will be in demand for more pretentious entertainments, where you can make $5 or more in a single evening. 280. Candy making. What can please a boy better than candy making? Offer your services free for a short time to a confectioner. When you have learned the trade, which you can do in a little while, commence the business on your own account in a small way. Beginning with those sweets which are easily made, you can extend your art as your business increases until you have a good trade. 281. Odd jobs. I push baby carriages through the park at 5 cents apiece, says a Chicago boy. I clean and oil bicycles, says a New York lad. I stand on the boulevard and pump up tires, declares a third. I buy a dozen lemons and a pound of sugar and sell lemonade on all holidays and at times of parade, says an enterprising schoolboy. I carry bundles and valises from the train and make off in 50 cents a day, says a Boston youth. I hang up a slate on the front gate and take store orders for neighbors, says a bright village lad. 282. General Employment Agency. Inform 100 or more families in a particular district that at a certain hour of the day you will be there to carry messages, roll out barrels of ashes, go on errands, mail letters, black boots, and do whatever work they may require. If the work is sufficient to warrant it, a business partnership of boys may be formed, so that while one is engaged another can go on his usual rounds, and thus ensure punctuality. 283. Collect magazines. Almost everyone takes a literary magazine, and some take 2 or 3. After a time they become refuse on their hands. Many persons would gladly give you a truckload. But these are worth money, and second-hand dealers who sell them at 5 cents apiece will give you 3 cents for them. 284. Vacant lot. If you live in the city, get the owner of a vacant lot to give you the privilege of raising vegetables. With a little experience you can easily raise from $50 to $100 worth of vegetables on a lot 20 by 100 feet. This will go far to eke out the support of a large family. 285. Bicycle teaching. Here is a field for a stout lad of 15 years. There are thousands of modest young ladies and men, especially elderly gentlemen, who would like to learn to ride a wheel, but do not like the publicity of a riding academy. Issue some neat cards and circulate them from house to house with the information that for the sum of $1 you will teach anyone to ride. Most people have a backyard where such instruction could be given. Having no rent to pay, you could easily afford to take them for that price, as you have the advantage over the professional instructor, both of cheapness and privacy. There is a lot of money in this for the right kind of a boy. 286. First cost sales. When public attention is aroused upon any subject, consider how you can turn it to account. Here is what a boy 13 years old says: when Coins Financial School came out and the people were talking about it, I wrote to Mr. Harvey, the author, and got a lot of the books and sold them all before they got into the bookstores here. I have made in this and like enterprises $500. Like opportunities were presented in our late war, with the Dewey buttons, battleship pictures, etc. Keep your eyes open. Opportunities to make money are all about you. The alert boy makes the successful man. Boys, there is gold in all the mountains, pearls in all the seas, and money in every street. Elijah Morse at 15 years of age bought a recipe for stove polish, paying $5 for the materials. He peddled it in a carpet bag, and from this small beginning grew the celebrated Rising Sun Stove Polish, whose huge factory covers 4 acres at West Canton, Massachusetts, and whose proprietor is immensely rich. Cornelius Vanderbilt was a poor boy without a cent. When he died, his estate was valued at $40 million. Boys, there is a fortune for you. It is not to be found, but made by hard work. Write on your banner, luck is a fool. Pluck is a hero. Chapter 9. Money in Agencies. The omnipresent agent, what he says and what he sells, power of the successful drummer, the 5 secrets of the book agent, $5,000 commission on a patent, how 7 men carry $7 million insurance, a man who receives $5,000 a year and does nothing, how teachers pay for their positions, searching for a $10,000 preacher, the matrimonial is often a matter of money, all, a new way to get good servants, the farm supply company. Few occupations offer such inducements for persons with little or no capital as that of the agent. There are 2 classes of agencies. In one, as a book or patent agency, the agent works for 1 or 2 persons at a fixed commission and needs no capital. In the other, as that of servants and of supply companies, the agent is also in a certain sense a principal. He obeys no one's orders, fixes his own commissions, and makes his profits directly from the public. Here are a few points for agents. 287. Book agency. The book agency depends partly upon the kind of book, but chiefly upon the kind of man. The right man selling the right book can make enormous wages. An agent selling a commentary on the Bible made sometimes $25 in half a day. An agent for the People's Encyclopedia earned $3,000 in 1 year, and spent only about half the time in the work. Many agents for memoirs of General Grant earned from $10 to $20 a day. Ordinarily, an agent should be satisfied if he can make from $3 to $5 a day. From this sum must come his expenses. Book agents receive from 25 to 45% according to the nature of the work. 40% is considered excellent compensation. 288. The patent agency. Considerable business is now done in the selling of patent rights. The agent studies the lists that come out weekly in the United States Patent Gazette and sends his circulars to those who have secured patents. The agent will charge from 5 to 10% if he can arrange with a patentee for the sale of the patents. In other cases, he charges a fixed sum, which is paid in advance, and is considered an equivalent for his services whether or not he is successful in effecting a sale, on the same principle that doctors and lawyers are paid whether they gain or lose a case. In extent and profit, the business varies from the itinerant vendor with half a dozen patents in his valise to the established business house with subagencies in all parts of the world. What the profits are in the latter situation may be judged from a single case in the former, where a traveling man received as commission on a single patent sold the sum of $5,000. 289. Commission merchants. A vast business is done in the sale of general merchandise on commission. Foreign houses have their agencies in this city. Also, much of the produce of the farm and of the products of manufactures are disposed of in the same way. Take a case of the former kind. A man hires an office in New York and storage in a warehouse. Then he sends circulars to Western dealers, stating that he is prepared to take their stock or grain on commission. When he can make quick sales, he saves the expense of storage, but rental in a warehouse is necessary in holding for futures. He receives in one day 100,000 bushels of wheat at 75 cents per bushel, which, after paying freightage, he sells at 0.5% profit. Gain of 1 day, $500. He will not receive so much every day, and some days he will have to sell at a loss, but, taken altogether, there are good chances of wealth in the commission business. 290. Insurance agency. Insurance, both fire and life, is a mine of wealth, and has opened wondrously during the last few years. The present magnitude of the business is shown by the statement that there are $2,500,000,000 invested in life insurance in the United States, while the fire insurance agents last year wrote more than $16 billion. There are 7 men who have an aggregate of $7 million on their lives. But the business is yet in its infancy. The field of life insurance is not nearly covered, and if it were, 10 million persons will come to maturity during the next 10 years, all of whom may be considered as candidates for insurance, and all the policies will have to be renewed in a short time. Insurance agents receive as commission from 10 to 25%. Some companies secure to their agents a regular percentage on the premium so long as the policies continue in force. If, therefore, an agent gets 15% commission, and the company receives $10,000 per year as premiums from the policies he has written, his share will be $1,500, and thus he enjoys an annuity without any further work for a long period of time. The larger old-time companies, also, have general agents whose positions are still more lucrative. Many of them are in circumstances of affluence, and have very little to do. In fact, it is in the insurance business as in many other occupations, that as one rises the salaries are larger, and the actual work, aside from the responsibility, is smaller. 291. Traveling salesman. In some houses a traveling salesman is allowed a standing commission on all goods bought by firms whose custom was secured through his influence. As the commission continues as long as the customer continues the trade at that house, some agents, after a few years of active work, are enabled to retire on incomes of $2,000, $3,000, and in some cases of $5,000 a year. The business done by drummers is immense. 300 million tons of goods are shipped by them yearly, and the business amounts to nearly $2 million a day. 292. Supply companies. A supply company differs from an ordinary merchant's firm in that it does not keep goods in stock. It is a mammoth general agency for procuring whatsoever you desire. Specimens only are kept in the store, and from these the customers make selections. The advantage of supply companies is the saving of large rentals, of expensive clerk hire, and of loss or damage in the long keeping of goods, and, most of all, of risk in unsaleable articles, and in the fall of prices. Thus, a supply company can undersell an ordinary dealer, and if alert and prompt, can make vast profits. Another great advantage is the smallness of the capital required. Here are great opportunities for bright young business men of limited means. 293. Agencies for teachers. The number of teachers in the public schools in the United States is 400,325. The matter of engaging school teachers varies in different states, and often in different parts of the same state. Sometimes it is done by county superintendents, often by the Board of Education, but most frequently by the school trustees, commissioners, or committees. One going into the business of a teacher's agency must ascertain the particular method in every part of the country, and learn the name of the persons authorized to act in that capacity. Then he should issue circulars by the 100,000. For the eyes of applicants, he should use the advertising pages of the newspapers. Teachers should be charged a commission upon their salaries in something like the following order: 5% on first year's salary, 3% the second year, and 1% the third year. After that it may be allowed to lapse. The contract should be rigorously drawn, and, where possible, payments should be collected in advance. There are great profits in the business when systematically and vigorously conducted. One agency in the eastern part of the United States is receiving commissions from 10,000 schoolteachers. Owing to frequent changes, the majority of these are paying 5%. But if we suppose the average to be only the amount payable the second year, $3 commission, the income would be $30,000. 294. Clerical agency. Here is an opportunity for an unoccupied clergyman of wide clerical acquaintance. There are thousands of vacant pulpits and other thousands of ministers anxious for calls. Establish an agency through whose medium the supply shall meet the demand. Your list should comprise the names of all churchless pastors, together with those desirous of change, and their experience, qualifications, education, family, age, personal appearance, together with other interesting information, should be properly tabulated for the inspection of church committees. Candidates should be graded according to the catalog and sent out in order as pulpit candidates. As clerical engagements are commonly much longer than those of teachers, it is right that you should receive a larger percent for your services. If a church pays its pastor a salary of $10,000, and you are successful in the search for an available man for its pulpit, it would hardly be a presumption for you to charge $500 for your services. 295. Matrimonial agencies. These should be conducted with the greatest care, and only by the most conscientious persons, on account of the great responsibilities involved. They are, however, capable of vast development and of immense good. In Massachusetts alone, there are 70,000 females in excess of the males, while in Illinois the men preponderate to the number of 50,000. Your task of bringing together the unmated is a most delicate one, and you should accordingly be well compensated. Where there is much wealth on either side, your commission may be expressed in 3 figures, and even in 4. $1,000 is a small sum for a man to pay who secures an accomplished wife and a happy home. We have known several marriages made in this way to turn out exceedingly well. 296. Agency for servants. This is not new, but you might revolutionize it by a new plan. Written recommendations are worthless, because almost everyone will compensate the disappointment of the discharged servant by a certificate of good behavior, in the writing of which the elasticity of the conscience is more or less drawn upon. Instead of accepting a valueless paper, let an employee of the office personally visit 2 or 3 of the places where the servant has been employed. The lady of the house will tell you many things she would not write in the letter. This will consume time, but the compensation is in the better class of service you will be enabled to offer. When it is known that you make personal investigation, sifting out the useless and offering only first-class help, your patronage will be vastly increased, and you can charge much higher commissions. Tell your patron that at the end of a month she may pay you $10 if satisfied, and most people would prefer to do that than to pay a half or quarter of that sum in advance with small guarantee of fitness. 297. Agency for farmhands. There are thousands of idle people in the great cities who would gladly go on farms for a portion of the year. If they make personal application, they are commonly regarded by the farmer as tramps. Besides these, there are thousands of emigrants arriving in search of work. Many of them are valuable as farm help, having tilled the soil at home. An agent who has a keen knowledge of human nature, and knows how to ask questions, sifting out the useless and the vicious from the valuable and the virtuous, can through proper advertising in agricultural papers, send at least 1,000 of these men into the country every summer. Through an arrangement with the farmer by which $5 of the first month's wages shall be withheld and forwarded to the agent, the sum of $5,000 as commission for these 1,000 laborers is secured. But the energetic agent ought to do far better than this. Chapter 10. Money in Proprietary Compounds. Proprietary Kings and How They Acquired Power, Patent Medicine Secrets Given Away, where Perry Davis found his recipe, The Parent of the Killers, Men Who Made Their Pile in Pills, Fortunes in Bitters, Electricity, or Mustard Plasters, The Story of a Discovery, How a Man Made a Fortune with an Indian Cure, What's in a Name? The Mighty Lubeck, Tons of Drugs Taken Every Day, Triumph of Soothing Syrup, A New Patent Medicine for Every Day of the Year, The Man Who Took Everything. Owners of proprietary compounds have built up great fortunes in the sale of their concoctions. Our drugstores are filled with patent medicines, and millions of cures are sold annually. The names of some of these, such as Hostetter, Brandreth, and Mother Winslow, have become household words, proving how largely and universally their medicines have sold. The story is told of one credulous hypochondriac, who, on the theory that of many shots someone is likely to hit, actually took every kind of patent medicine in the world, or at least of every sort he had heard about. As there are more than 360 diverse concoctions, this genius must have taken a different kind for every day of the year, or else have extended his experiments through a long period, which seems impossible under the circumstances. It is said that Perry Davis obtained his famous discovery in the form of a recipe in an old newspaper which he found in an outhouse. This was the foundation of one of the largest fortunes in patent medicines, and it was the parent of all the killers. The men who have made their piles in pills may be counted by the hundred. Perhaps the soothing syrup success is the most signal example of Multum in Parvo. It is sold by the million bottles, and yet it is nothing but a little paregoric dropped in some sweet mixture. Lübeck is a mighty name, but anybody can be a Lübeck so far as the question of perfumery goes. Among the anecdotes of medicine vendors, we have only space for one or two. A man was crying out the virtues of an electric belt, and it was found that he had adroitly attached a strip of mustard plaster to the magic band, and this, when heated by contact with the warm skin, produced redness and an itching, which were supposed by the too trusting patient to be the effects of the healing electricity. Another man has made a fortune with an Indian plant. He travels about the country with what he advertises to be a troupe of Indians, giving performances and hawking his cures. The Indians are New York toughs, and the medicine plant is a common pasture weed. We give no sort of countenance to these frauds, but, dismissing them all, there are still both profit to the patient and profit to the maker in the taking of proprietary medicines. To succeed in this line, one should first have an article of genuine merit, and then advertise lavishly. Below are given some recipes quite as good as those that have made fortunes for their possessors, and in some cases the exact formulas of these widely renowned medicines are given. 298. Healing ointment. One of the most celebrated of ointments is composed of these simple ingredients: butter, lard, Venice turpentine, white wax, and yellow wax. Here is a rule for another ointment: fresh butter, 3/4 pound, beeswax, 4 ounces, yellow resin, 3 ounces, melt together, add vinegar of cantharides, 1 fluid ounce, and simmer the whole with constant agitation for 10 or 12 minutes, or until the moisture is nearly evaporated, then add of Canada balsam 1 ounce, express oil of mace, 1 dram, balsam of Peru, 10 or 12 drops. Again stir well, allow mixture to settle, and when about half cold pour into pots previously slightly warmed, and allow it to cool very slightly. There is nothing else but to put on your label and expose for sale. 299. Spasm killer. Acetate of morphia, 1 grain, spirit of sal volatile and sulfuric ether, 1 fluid ounce each, camphor julep, 4 ounces. Keep closely corked in a cool place and shake well before use. Dose: 1 teaspoonful in a glass of cold water as required. Here is another: spirits of camphor, 2 ounces, tincture of capsicum, 1 ounce, tincture of guaiac, 1/2 ounce, tincture of myrrh, 1/2 ounce, alcohol, 4 ounces. This is Perry Davis's famous medicine. 300. Antimalaria. 1 ounce each of Peruvian bark and cream of tartar, cloves 1/2 dram reduced to fine powder. Dose: 1 and 1/2 dram every 3 hours. 301. Hostetter's bitters. Here is the recipe for the famous bitters: calamus root, 2 pounds, orange peel, 2 pounds, Peruvian bark, 2 pounds, gentian root, 2 pounds, columbo root, 2 pounds, rhubarb, 8 ounces, cloves, 2 ounces, cinnamon, 4 ounces, diluted alcohol, 4 gallons, water, 2 gallons, sugar, 2 pounds. 302. Toothache ease. Liquor of ammonia, 2 parts, laudanum, 1 part, apply on lint. 303. Candy digest. Lump sugar, 1 pound, water, 3 ounces, dissolve by heat, add cardamom seeds, ginger, and rhubarb, of each 1 ounce. When the mixture is complete, pour it out on an oiled slab or into molds. 304. Cough lozenges. Lacticarium, 2 drams, ipecacuanha, 1 dram, squills, 3/4 dram, extract of licorice, 2 ounces, sugar, 6 ounces, make into a mash with mucilage of tragacinth, and divide into 20 grain lozenges. 305. Lover's hair oil, makes the hair glossy. Castor oil, 1 pound, white wax, 4 ounces, melt together, add when nearly cold, of essence of bergamot, 3 drams, oil of lavender, 1/2 dram, essence of ambergris, 10 drops. 306. Purgative powder. Equal parts of julep and cream of tartar, colored with a little red bowl. Dose: a teaspoonful in broth or warm water 2 or 3 times daily. 307. Consumption wafers. 2 parts each lump sugar and starch in powdered form, powdered gum, 1 part, made into a lozenge mass with vinegar of squills, oxymel of squills, and ipecacuanha wine, equal parts, gently evaporated to 1/6 their weight with the addition of lacticarium in proportion of 20 to 30 grains to every ounce of the powders, the mass being divided into half-inch squares weighing about 7 1/2 grains. 308. Beef, iron and wine. Here is a recipe for Liebig's famous extract: beef juice, 1/2 ounce, ammonia citrate of iron, 256 grains, spirit of orange, 1/2 fluid ounce, distilled water, 1/2 ounce, sherry wine sufficient to make 16 fluid ounces. Dissolve the ammonia citrate of iron in the water, dissolve the extract of beef in the sherry wine, add the spirit of orange and mix the solution. 309, spring tonic. Calamus root, 2 pounds, orange peel, 2 pounds, Peruvian bark, 2 pounds, gentian root, 2 pounds, columbo root, 2 pounds, rhubarb, 8 ounces, cinnamon, 4 ounces, cloves, 2 ounces, diluted alcohol, 4 gallons, water, 2 gallons, sugar, 2 pounds. 310, Dr. Pierce's Golden Medical Discovery. Here is all there is of Dr. Pierce's Golden Medical Discovery. It is no doubt a good thing, but you can make it yourself. A $1 bottle holds 220 grains of a brownish-colored, clear liquid, consisting of 15 grains of pure honey, 1 grain of extract of acrid lettuce, 2 grains of laudanum, 100 grains of diluted alcohol, with 105 grains of water. 311, Bedbug Exterminator. Corrosive sublimate, 1 ounce, muriatic acid, 2 ounces, water, 4 ounces, dissolve, then add turpentine, 1 pint, decoction of tobacco, 1 pint. Mix. For the decoction of tobacco, boil 2 ounces of tobacco in 1 pint of water. The mixture must be applied with a paintbrush. If well applied, this is a sure destroyer of bedbugs. It is a deadly poison. 312, Catarrh curative, 1/2 gram of carbolic acid, 1/2 gram of camphor, and 10 grams of common salt, which are to be dissolved in 4/7 of a liter of water and injected into the nostrils. You can call it the Excelsior, for it is excelled by none. 313, Lip pomatum. For chapped lips, lard, 16 parts, cacao oil, 24 parts, spermaceti, 8 parts, yellow wax, 3 parts, alcanna root, 1 part. The substances are fused for 1/4 hour at a gentle heat, then strain through a cloth, and mix with oil of lemon and oil of bergamot, each 1/6 part, oil of bitter almonds, 1/15 part, then the mass is poured into suitable vessels to cool. 314, Ointment for chapped hands. Camphor, 60 grs, boric acid, 30 grs, lanolin and white vaseline of each 1/2 ounce. 315, Cod liver oil emulsion. Yolks of 2 eggs, powdered sugar, 4 ounces, essence of oil of almonds, 2 drops, orange flower water, 2 ounces. Mix carefully with an equal bulk of cod liver oil. This is a delicious emulsion. Of course, the dose is double that of the clear cod liver oil. 316, Beauty water. To remove freckles. Sulfocarbonate of zinc, 2 parts, glycerin, 25 parts, rose water, 25 parts, spirits, 5 parts. Dissolve and mix. Anoint twice daily, keeping the ointment on the skin from 1/2 to 1 hour, then wash off with cold water. Wear a dark veil when exposed to the sun. 317, Cough mixture. Syrup of poppies, syrup of squills, and paregoric, each 1/2 ounce. Mix, dose, a teaspoonful in a little warm water night and morning, or when the cough is troublesome. 318, Dr. Sage's Catarrh Remedy. Here is the famous secret, 1/2 grm. Of carbolic acid, 1/2 grm. Of camphor and 10 grms. Of common salt, which are to be dissolved in 4/7 of a liter of water and injected into the nostrils. Its reputation is believed to be well deserved. 319, Diarrhea mixture. Wine of opium, 1 fluid ounce, tincture of valerian, 1 1/2 fluid ounces, ether, 1/2 fluid ounce, oil of peppermint, 60 minims, fluid extract of ipecac, 15 minims, alcohol enough to make 4 fluid ounces. This is the formula for a most celebrated patent medicine. The dose is a teaspoonful in a little water every 2 or 3 hours until relieved. 320, Blood purifier. Equal to the best-selling compounds. For a bottle holding 220 grms, take 15 grms. Of pure honey, 1 grm. Extract of poisonous or acrid lettuce, 2 grms. Laudanum, 100 grms. Of diluted alcohol, with 105 grms. Of water. Make large quantities in like proportion. Chapter 11. Money in Real Estate. The costliest spot on the Western Hemisphere, 1.5 miles of millionaires, the kings of the earth. Why some rich men do not live in New York, the country fool and the knowing ones. How Coney Island was born, the story of a great land sale, rents in apartment houses, the 50-story office building, the man who gave a carte blanche decoration order, but won't do it again, the Western land bubble, good farms going to waste, the Jersey Flats. No class of men have made greater or securer fortunes than dealers in real estate. W. C. Ralston, James Lick, and J. J. Astor are examples of persons who have accumulated vast sums through investments in land. The points of real estate are, first, a sound title; second, a keen foresight of the wants and the roads of civilization; third, a careful inspection of the neighborhood where a contemplated purchase is located; fourth, a thorough knowledge of market values of this kind of property; fifth, non-professional advice, in the disinterested judgment of men thoroughly familiar with property and prices. Other considerations are the rate of taxes of various kinds, imposed or likely to be imposed upon the property. Tax methods in large cities are often ways that are dark. For this reason, George Gould, the multimillionaire, and Mr. Rockefeller, the Standard Oil magnate, have disposed of their urban properties. 321, City Property. 1.5 miles of millionaires. Midway between the East River and the Hudson, there lay a few years ago a neglected tract of land which could have been bought for a few $100,000. Today it is the wealthiest 1.5 miles on the Western continent. $100 million would not purchase the ground alone. 40 years ago, a piece of land which is now almost downtown was called Eno's Folly, because he paid for it what was supposed to be an extravagant sum. It is now the site of the Fifth Avenue Hotel. The tide is still running up, but you must now go to the Bronx, or even further, for cheap city property. It is, however, the most secure of all investments. Nothing is more certain than that the property in the annexed district of New York is bound to advance. So also with real estate in all city suburbs. 322, Pleasure Resorts. Less than 40 years ago, a man, simulating country simplicity, sauntered along Coney Island and astonished the owners by inquiring the price of what was supposed to be worthless land. They, thinking him crazy or a fool, named $1,000, or 5 times what it was supposed to be worth. He accepted the offer on the spot. $1 million would not buy the land today. The supposed countryman's folly has been repeated many times since. The owner of Bergen Beach has made a fortune in this way during the last 2 or 3 years. As cities grow, pleasure resorts must be found. Buy a bit of seashore and make it into a Bergen Beach or a Bowery Bay. Or, purchase a grove within easy distance of the city, and make it into a pleasure park. In either case, railroads or trolley connection is indispensable, but with these and plenty of enterprise and money you cannot fail to reap a large harvest. 323, Newtown sites. Large fortunes have been made by men who had the sagacity to see a potential factor in the meeting of 2 rivers, or the projection of a railroad. The question for investors in real estate is, where is the population going? Keen observers note the drift, get ahead of the tide, and are ready to sell lots when the people arrive. Whitestone and Morris Park on Long Island were built in this way. It is a good investment, not quite so safe as city property, but paying more handsomely where the projector is fortunate in his location. 324, Western lands. Fortunes have been made and lost in Western lands. The facts are that some sharpers have been booming lands that are hardly worth the taxes. Persons who have bought corner lots in promising Western towns have been surprised to learn that the towns were not built or even surveyed, and that often the site was located in the midst of an impenetrable swamp where a town was impossible. However, lands along the line of railroads, or places which have harbor facilities on the banks of rivers, are good investments. 325, the apartment house. The apartment house, which is a kind of evolution of the flat, is becoming a feature of life in large cities. The question whether it is a paying property will receive light by the consideration of the rents received by the owners of a building of this kind in New York, the Knickerbocker at 5th Avenue and 28th Street. This is a typical apartment house, and the tenants may almost be said to buy their rooms, for there are several who give $100,000 for a 10 years lease, and even small bachelor apartments on the 10th floor command $1,000 a year. 326. The skyscraper. There is no limit to the extent of a building in height. Some are 20 stories, one is 30, and it is reported that a skyscraper 50 stories in height is projected. Do they pay? Here is the account of a modest one of only 9 stories, the Mills Building on William Street, New York. The cost, with land, was $2,500,000. It is 175 by 150 feet. It contains 400 offices, has 1,200 tenants, and pays an annual net rental of $200,000, or 8%. It is related of Mr. D. O. Mills, the owner, that in completing his magnificent residence on Upper Fifth Avenue, he gave a carte blanche order to a decorator, and departed with his family to California. On returning, he was delighted to find the place transformed into an Aladdin's palace, but his joy was somewhat modified at the presentation of the bill, which amounted to $450,000. 327. The Jersey Flats. Right over against property whose taxable value is $3 billion lies another property worth literally nothing. Step over from Manhattan Island, where every foot of land needs to be overlaid with silver round moons for its purchase, to New Jersey, and you will find 27,000 acres of marsh lying under the very nose of the metropolis, land hardly worth a song. Why is this? Simply because capitalists have not been wise enough to improve this great waste. In Holland, by a system of diking, land in a similar condition is now covered by great warehouses and factories, and cannot be bought for hundreds of millions of dollars. Here is the opportunity for capitalists. Why invest money in far-off gold fields when you have a Klondike here at the very threshold of the metropolis? The first step, says the state geologist, is to build an embankment and a pumping station. The cost will be about $1 million. The main ditches should be made, and the whole area laid out in 20-acre farms, and sold on the express condition that each plot shall be immediately ditched and brought under cultivation. If we put the cost of ditching and of other incidental expenses at $500,000, we have a total cost of $1,500,000. Then, if we estimate the worth of the land at only 1/4 the average price of land on Manhattan Island, which is the average worth of land in Jersey City, we have a value for the total 27,000 acres of $50 million. Profits, $48,500,000. 328. Abandoned farms. There are 4,300 abandoned farms in New England alone. These, with a little expense, could all be made profitable. Some are selling, buildings complete, as low as $700, and even $500. Many of these abandoned farms, costing $1,000, could, at the expense of another $1,000, be put in a highly thrifty condition and sold for $4,000. An abandoned farm company will sometime be organized with chances of good profit. Chapter 12. Money in the Fine Arts. Some things everybody ought to know. An institution that teaches without money and without price. A woman who earns $3,000 a year, the old glue-maker's gift to women. How a little girl earned $300, a young woman who earned more than her father, as rich as a queen. Fortunes in designs, livings in lace. One painter's earnings last year, checks in charcoal. Book publishers who are looking for ideas. This is one of the most enjoyable as well as one of the most remunerative occupations. One of the noblest things which Peter Cooper ever did was to found a free art school for women. Not only is it absolutely free to all women, but opportunities are afforded for meritorious pupils to earn no mean sums during their period of instruction. 329. Crayon work. A teacher in the Cooper Institute says, during the previous year 40 of my pupils in art have made $7,000, or $175 each, while learning the art of crayon photography. Every year 100 women on leaving the Cooper Institute make from $400 to $1,200 a year by artwork. 330. Drawing. One graduate of the Cooper Union is now receiving from $2,000 to $3,000 as a teacher of drawing in the New York public schools, and another has been appointed manager of a decorative art society in New Orleans, with a salary of $150 a month, and opportunities to earn as much more by private tuition. 331. Photograph coloring. A little girl, says Mr. Cooper, came to my house to thank me for what she had learned at the Institute. I have earned $300 coloring photographs, she said with enthusiasm. The coloring of photographs gives employment to many hundreds of young women, and there is no prospect that the market will become glutted. 332, Oil painting. A man in middle life met Mr. Cooper on the stairs of the institute. My daughter, he said, makes $1,300 a year by teaching painting, and I never earned more than $1,200 myself. The chief points of oil painting are a good tooth, a canvas which will take color from a brush readily, perspective, fineness of touch, delicate perception, an eye for shades of color, and a bold, free hand. Oil paintings bring from $5 to $50,000, according to merit. 333, Watercolors. Paintings in watercolors are popular because less expensive than those done in oil. Good work in this department is, however, well paid. Much depends upon the subject and its treatment. It is said that the artist, Mr. John Lafarge, sold about $15,000 worth of watercolors last year. 334, Wood engraving. A young woman from California sat on the sofa of Mr. Cooper's library. I have come to thank you, she said. I feel as rich as a queen. I have 30 pupils in wood engraving. 335, Book decoration. Publishers of books, and especially of magazines, pay large prices for decorations for the covers, title pages, and other important parts. The secret of success is in the design. If you can find a happy idea, you will get a large price for it. Of course, the point in most cases is to illustrate the subject matter. A unique conception, happily worked out, will give both fame and money. 336, Dyeing. This may not be thought one of the fine arts, but it requires a skill hardly inferior to that of the painter or sculptor. There is a large field in the recoloring of tapestries, silks, and woolen goods. The requisites of success are taste, a good eye for color, knowledge of dyestuffs, and indefatigable industry in finding a market. 337, Designs. These are constantly in demand. Wallpaper manufacturers, dressmakers, architects, builders, home decorators, carpet manufacturers, fine art workers, all want designs. An ordinary kaleidoscope will furnish you thousands of suggestions every day. From these select a few of the best and work them on a fine, white drawing paper. Have a separate folio for each department of drawings, and advertise what you are doing. If you have a real talent for the work and a show window, you cannot fail of success in any large town. 338, Engraving on glass. By the use of the wheel this becomes easy work. The chief fields for its operation are in summer resorts where people wish to carry away a souvenir of the place. One who knows how to display goods can do a very profitable work in the season. 339, Embroidery. This is one of the simplest of the arts. The only capital required is a ball of worsted, the only tool a needle, and the only instruction a few elementary rules that can be quickly learned. The demand depends upon the skill. A small store can be cheaply stocked, and its contents sold at a good profit if the articles are unique.